The Milwaukee Mile is the oldest operating speedway in the world. Its first auto race was held 8 years before the first Indianapolis 500. Since 1903, all of racing's greats have competed here, like A.J. Foyt, a 10-time winner in many different types of cars. The Andrettis, Mario, and Michael have driven to Milwaukee's victory lane a total of 9 times in an IndyCar. And legendary owner Roger Penske has scored 5 wins at this venerable oval. Today, Michael's team, Andretti Green Racing, is sitting 1-2-3 atop the points. Dario Franchitti is the defending Milwaukee champion and winner of the series' most recent race. Team Penske is right behind AGR on the points and has been victorious on the 2 IndyCar short ovals this year. Who will write a new chapter in the Milwaukee history books? Hang on, the A.J. Foyt 225 is next. The green flag is out and we are off and racing. Dan Weldon has just won the Indianapolis 500. 2005 IndyCar Series is off. Welcome to Milwaukee and the historic Milwaukee Mile for Firestone Race Day. As we welcome you to these hollow grounds, hello everyone, I'm Todd Harris. Glad to have you with us for the 10th race of the IndyCar Series. Well, as you can see behind me, the midway here at the State Fair is filling up as the fans continue to pour in to what should be a very interesting race today. It's the A.J. Foyt 225. You know, this track is steeped with history. Originally, it was a horse track, but today, different horses will be going around 225 laps. A lot of information, a lot of stories to get to. Right now, let's check in on pit row with Vince Welch.
Well, Todd, when it comes to the short tracks, Marlboro Team Penske has been the team to beat. 2 races, 2 wins. In March on the 1-mile track at Phoenix, Sam Hornish Jr. led the final 11 laps en route to his only win of the season. And then the next short track stop was 1 month ago at Richmond, Virginia. Elio Castroneves is scaling the fence after leading 125 laps in a dominating performance for his lone win of the season as well. And with Elio and Sam now, the only 2 drivers to qualify over 170 miles per hour for this event today. Sam, you're on the pole. What makes this race and this track the most challenging?
It makes it really difficult because of how flat the track is. There's no banking to help the car, so a lot of mechanical setup, is required to make the car go fast. We do things, we tweak on the car, and especially with the heat that we have today, things are going to get slick out there. The cars are going to slide around, so you're going to have to be up on the wheel all day long, and it's just going to be a tough race for us out there.
On the outside of row 1 is his teammate Elio Castroneves. If you are fighting with Sam for the lead late in the race, how aggressive do you get?
Well, you have to be aggressive to finish first, but at the same time, it's your teammate. You don't want to see anything happen. Special Roger, you don't want to see Roger angry. So one of those things that you want to play fair with everyone, and we're feeling pretty comfortable. So our team Penske hopefully going to be in a good spot today.
Where do you judge the importance of a race win compared to the championship chase, and where you stand in that regard?
Right now, as we look like very well set up in a short oval, so that's a great opportunity for us to make a great ground between the leaders. So we need to keep working hard. It ain't over. It's just beginning.
Team Penske has won here at Milwaukee 5 times. Rick Mears has done it 3. Bobby Unser and Al Unser 1 each. Elio and Sam hope to add their name to that prestigious list today. Jamie?
Well, Vince, the bad luck continues for the Target Chip Ganassi team. Yesterday, their rookie Ryan Briscoe hit the wall in morning practice. Now, just to give you an idea, this is one of the only tracks that does not have a safer barrier. And for that, you can hear it in the sound. Watch and listen to this impact. Now, the Delphi safety crew, I talked to them earlier, they confirmed he hit at 80 lateral Gs. To give you an idea at home what that's like, you go to the biggest roller coaster in the world at any amusement park, the highest Gs you'll get is 3.5. He hit at 80 Gs, and that just tells you how good our safety crew is. Guys, he absorbed all that. He walked away from it. They actually cleared him to drive, but for precautionary reasons, they sent him home to heal up because we do have another race next weekend in Michigan. Dr. Punch?
Last week, Music City, USA served up some sour notes for Team Andretti Green. First, Brian Herta slows, then bows out at lap 75 with a broken rear suspension. 21 laps later, points leader Dan Weldon walks away with a similar problem. Then race leader Tony Kanaan clobbers Darren Manning in the turn 1 wall with an abrupt suspension failure. That left only Dario Franchitti to defend the team honor. And he didn't disappoint, capturing his first ever win in his adopted hometown of Nashville, Tennessee. With the Nashville winner, Dario Franchitti, still smiling from a week ago. And Dario, right here is where it all began 1 year ago at the Milwaukee Mile. Your first IRL IndyCar win in dominating fashion. What's the key to success here at this tough oval?
Survival, especially today with it being as hot as it is. The track is really slippery, and yeah, it's going to be a state of survival. Huge wind out there as well, and we'll have to be quick as well, though.
Starting 8th, good luck to you today. Let's check in with his teammate here, Dan Weldon, current points leader, 2005 Indy 500 winner. Danny, it had been a storybook year until Nashville last week when you had the first DNF. How do you bounce back here today?
I think that's just unfortunate. I mean, obviously everybody at Andretti Green Racing works very, very hard, and I think if it happened to any other team, you wouldn't really be talking about it too much. But it's just the expectations are so strong. But this race is going to be very, very difficult. My personal pick for the hardest one to beat today is going to be Dario. He seems very, very strong and always has a good car on these short ovals. But I think the Klein Tools Jim Beam car could surprise a few people. We've made some big changes since the warm-up, which we needed to do. But it's a tough track.
73-point lead. 7 events remain after today. Can you afford to be aggressive here in the second half of the year?
Well, I think with so many people so close, and that's what makes this series probably the best in the world right now, is the fact that, there's a lot of close competitors, and you can't really afford to be too conservative. You've got to be all out.
All right, good luck today.
Thank you.
Dan Weldon starts outside row 2 in 4th place. When we return, we'll update the status of injured rookie Thomas Engie. We'll also tell you which former series champion will take his place today, and we'll hear from one of Open Wheel Racing's living legends as he prepares to give the command here at Milwaukee. All that and more in just a moment.
ESPN's presentation of the A.J. Foyt 225 is brought to you by Firestone Tires and Chevy, the winningest name in racing, an American revolution. On a very warm day, let's set it down to Jamie Little.
Even though Danica Patrick has limited oval experience, she has raced here in Milwaukee twice before in the Toyota Atlantic Series. Just last year, she came off a 4th place finish, so it's looking good. But Danica, I have to ask you, with a little bit of experience here on this short oval, how will that play into today's performance?
I think with the experience from Richmond and from Phoenix and obviously from racing here a couple of times in the previous years, every little bit helps. I mean, I'm racing against a bunch of different guys. It's a lot different with the fuel runs and 225 laps instead of like 70, which I did before. So all that's going to change, and on top of it, it's hotter than heck out here. So it's going to be a tough day, but I think that every little bit will help.
Listen to these streaks that Danica's on right now. She has completed 96% of the laps this year. That's better than every other driver except Patrick Carpentier. She's also completed the last 8 races, 8 of 9. Dan Weldon always messing with us, having a good time, trying to get in your head because you're one of his competitors, right? But this girl is on a roll. Danica, as a rookie, how have you learned to be so consistent and done so well this year?
I think that as a driver, you have to feel comfortable in situations. You can't put yourself in a place where you think that you're going to potentially crash out of the race, and I think that that's what makes the difference. And for me as a rookie, that comfort zone will expand and expand and expand. So I'm definitely making sure that I stay on the track right now, and my experience and the most benefit comes from finishing races.
All right, Todd, Danica Patrick starts 6th on the 3rd row.
All right, thank you very much, Jamie, as I welcome my colleague, a man who's made his fair share of turns around the Milwaukee Mile, Mr. Scott Goodyear. And Scott, Danica said that today with her Toyota Atlantic experience, do you think it's going to help her here at the speeds they'll be carrying?
Well, she knows the racetrack. I asked her this morning, said, what racing here was it a help? She said, well, I knew which way it went, but I'll tell you something, driving IndyCar here at the speed that we're doing, the line changes totally. And for her, she said, it's going to be a learning experience out there today, especially because of the heat.
Let's talk about that heat and the conditions. Danica alluded to in her interview about being comfortable. No one's going to be comfortable out there, especially you factor in the fire suit. It's got to be brutal.
Well, it's very hot inside the cockpit. Remember, these people have on 3 layers of suit, actually, for fire protection. It's 135 degrees inside the cockpit. This is a flat racetrack. There is no banking here whatsoever. The last couple of tracks that we came from had 14 and 15 degree banking. So the key thing for those guys, make sure the car works all the way around the turn. Consistency is going to be the key.
The buzzword throughout the week in the pits here at the Milwaukee Mile has been this has been a driver's track. Names like Rutherford, Foyt, and Goodyear. What exactly does that mean, a driver's track?
Well, because of that banking issue that we spoke about, because there's not that artificial grip that you have in the turns. We heard Sam Horner say earlier, you know something, you're going to have to sit up on the wheel and drive that car. 225 laps around here. I'm glad I'm in the booth.
No question about it. For a man who's down on the hot spot, pit row, let's check in with our Vince Welch.
Well, Todd, earlier in the week at the Panther shop, Thomas Schechter, who's just climbing in his car, busted out the grill and had a barbecue cookout for guys on his crew at the race shop. Kind of a nice gesture for Schechter to say to everybody, hey, I appreciate the efforts that you guys are putting forth for me this season during the dog days, and it's been a frustrating season at times with 6 DNFs. Starting right behind Thomas Schechter is his Panther Racing teammate, Buddy Lazier. Lazier is in the Tomas Inga car. Inga is injured, is in fact going to be up on the spotters stand with Tom Sneva today, spotting for Buddy Lazier. Now, Lazier has not had the luxury of running the other short tracks, Phoenix and Richmond, and he said he's a little bit nervous about that because running the short ovals quite a bit different, needs some extra prep time as compared to the long ovals, and he says this is a very difficult track. He wants to stretch the envelope, but wants to be sure not to tear it. Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you, Vince. Arguably, no one has had more success at this tricky oval than this man right here to my right. Today's Grand Marshal, the legendary Supertex A.J. Foyt. And A.J., you beat this place a record 10 times, but this morning it bit back, and your grandson Anthony had a pretty hard lick. What happened?
Well, I think, this is a tricky racetrack, and it's a handling racetrack, and it sneaks up on you before you realize it. He's off the corner, and it just jumps sideways. That's the way this track's always been. You got to really handle here to run good, and if not, it sneaks up on you real quick.
AJ climbing off the stand here this morning. You went down there and were a major part of fixing that car. Your guys did fix the car and have it back in the race. Anthony will drive the car. And I got to ask you, they talk about this being a driver's track. It takes guts and guile and determination to win here. Why does this place separate the men from the boys so much more than others?
Well, it's a demanding track on a race driver and also the crew. It's very demanding, and if you're going to win, you got to work at it hard, and you got to stay concentration all day long. Because the first minute you lose your concentration, you're in trouble.
You've given us so many great memories over the years. Still talking about 65 when you brought the old dirt champ car here and just boogied through those guys with the rear engine cars. A.J. Foyt, the Grand Marshal, he'll be given the command momentarily here at Milwaukee. Guys?
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Jerry Punch, and thank you for watching Firestone Race Day from the historic Milwaukee Mile. As the drivers get ready to go, green flag momentarily. When we come back, A.J. Foyt will give the most famous commands in all of racing. Stick around for ESPN's coverage after this. IndyCar Series is off. Ryan Briscoe, number 33-year leader. How long can he hold on? Tony Kanaan, they come together. We got screws. Look at this. It is Danica Patrick leading. Spider-Man is alive and well in Richmond. It's Dan Weldon on the inside. Tony Kanaan, his teammate. Vitor Meira tries to slip to the low side. Can he get it done? No. Dan Weldon has just won the Indianapolis 500. Not since Graham Hill in 1966 has an Englishman tasted the milk in victory lane at Indy.
Reverted back.
Welcome back to the Milwaukee Mile as we join our public address announcer, Mr. Dean Strom.
And race fans, it's now time for the most famous words in motorsports. And to give that command, the first 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500, Mr. A.J. Foyt.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. Have a safe race.
So we are almost set to get going on the ABC Supply Company. A.J. Foyt, 225 as the starting grid goes across the top of your screen. It is Team Penske running 1 and 2 with Sam Hornish Jr. and Elio Castroneves. There you see the bottom of your screen, the red and white cars, number 6 and 3 respectively. Scott, it is going to be a long, hot day. From a driver's perspective, you've been here before, keeping your patience, and that is something that Brian Barnhart, the president of the IRL, said you've got to do as we take a look at Scott Goodyear's keys to the race.
Well, 225 laps. Consistency is going to be the biggest key here, and we say that 60-65 laps on a tank full of fuel. A lot of times the car works for 40 laps and starts to go off a little bit. We'll watch for that as the day goes through. Traffic is number 2. These guys are going to start seeing traffic. The front row guys in about 15-20 laps coming up to the back markers. That's going to be an issue all day long for everybody. The third one, pit lane. A very different pit lane here. You enter in off of turn 4. Not much time to get slowed down. It's a bit of a left and right into pit lane, and the people that are pitted up at the very front there, Foyt, Lazier, Yasukawa, and Kite, difficult for them to get into, and then also a very bumpy pit lane here, and there's some elevation changes, Todd. Things may happen today in pit lane.
as they get the thumbs up from the safety crew and they start to warm the tires. Scott, I think on a day like today, warming the tires is not going to be an issue.
Well, you know, they're probably just getting their adrenaline going. Remember, we talked about 135 degrees inside the cockpit. I've done this race many times. The sweat's just dripping down in your eyes.
Well, we look at our race lines, and it's Sam Hornish Jr., his third pole this season, starting first in the Penske car. And a lot of people up and down pit road think this is the day that Sam Hornish gets the victory. Dan Weldon already 4 wins on the season, including the Indianapolis 500. He is starting 4th. I'm not sure if he's sandbagging it or not, but his car sure looked fast. And there's Danica Patrick, the rookie sensation for Ray Hall Letterman, driving the Honda, starting 6th, 2nd in laps completed, just behind Patrick Carpentier, as Jamie Little alluded to. Well, Scotty, it is a long, hot day for the drivers and for the pit crews. Patience, consistency, your keys, certainly traffic and pit lanes, but the intangibles, the things that you really can't put your finger on right now, which team do you think's best prepared for those?
Well, you have to look at Penske. They've run strong here so many times. I think back to 1994 where they finished 1, 2, 3 with Al Jr., Emo, and Paul Tracy. They just sort of dominated here. Penske has a great race car on short tracks. They've really run strong here so far this weekend, and at all the short tracks this year, you have to give them the heads up. But we heard Dan Weldon say we made some changes after warm-up this morning, and the cars are working well.
On board, number 10, that's Darren Manning, part of the Target Chip Ganassi team. He's 21st. There is A.J. Foyt, the 4th. His grandfather, of course, a 4-time winner of the Indy 500. He is starting 19th. Scott Dixon, number 9, also a Target Chip Ganassi, and he had problems here last year. And Dario Franchitti, our winner here last year, also the winner at our last race in Nashville. Danica Patrick, number 16. Starting 6th. Thomas Schechter going back to that all-familiar yellow car. You know that car so well, Scotty, the number 4 Pennzoil Panther car as they warm up around the corner. And the president of ABC Supply, 11, Ken Hendricks, he is our honorary starter. The green flag is out. Grab yourself a hunk of Wisconsin's finest cheese and a frosty beverage. We're racing 225 laps. Penske brings it across the line, 1 and 2 with Hornish and Castro Neves. Tony Kanaan, the biggest mover. Scott, he goes from 9th to 5th, and we should really just come to expect that.
Always a great starter, but I have to wonder, maybe did he improve his position before he got to the start line? On the start, initial start, no improving of position before you get to the line. Restarts is a different situation, but he was on the gas coming out of turn 4.
Possibly a situation where it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And Tony Kanaan up to 5th place right now, sitting right behind Thomas Schechter as we ride on board with number 9 Scott Dixon, currently sitting in 16th place. There's your leader, number 6. That is Hornish, being followed closely by his teammate Castro Neves, number 3. The identical car, 6 and 3. Hornish with the pole. Castro Neves sitting in 2nd. Both men have a victory this season.
Interesting line, Todd, that these guys run. Watch how they run up on the concrete, on the graded. Try not to get onto that blacktop through the turns. They like the high line. A lot of teams I spoke to said some teams like to run it low, some teams like to run it high. Watch the 2 cars right now from Marlboro Team Penske. Run high, avoid the blacktop, that pavement patch on the left-hand side, and they go all the way around the outside. Danny Weldon's in close pursuit, doing the same thing. They feel there's more grip up there than there is down on that pavement.
Dan Weldon sits in 3rd, Thomas Schechter in 4th, and there is Tony Kanaan. We talked about how far he moved up at the start. Scott, we're going to look back at this, and you mentioned it. He was on the gas awfully early. Tony Kanaan, maybe not the most patient guy. Here he's in the middle of the screen.
Tony Kanaan making a swing-out move right there. Looks like he was just smart enough to hold back for a moment, not passing any cars before he got to that start line. And we were mentioning just a moment ago about the people running high and low, as we see Tony there taking full advantage, just being off the pace a little bit. Tony Kanaan right now is actually the guy that's running on the low line through these turns, and that's going to be important as the race progresses, because as the track changes, cars will start to change throughout the run. We talked about the consistency earlier on. We just saw Tony Kanaan get right down that blacktop. You're going to have to come up to traffic and start to pass people very soon. You're going to have to be able to run both high and low.
On board with Danica Patrick, currently running in 8th place.
Grabbing for the shifter on the right-hand side because car's going a bit too slow through the middle of the turn. She's trying to get that acceleration now coming out.
Scott, they just came over the radio to Danica, communicating to her, telling her, find your rhythm, get your timing down. And that's something that Brian Barnhart talked a lot about in the drivers' meeting, making sure you get your rhythm and you have your timing, particularly when you're going to make a pass. Why is that so important here at Milwaukee?
Well, the key thing for her right now, she always talked about grip. We listened this morning in the warm-up. She said to her team, is there anything you can do for me that will just give me more overall grip? Remember, there's lots of changes happened since warm-up. The wind is so strong right now coming down the front stretch. The cars are going to work differently in turns 1 and 2 than 3 and 4.
Danica Patrick, there you see the last 3 races. She has been consistent. I know everyone's waiting for her to pick up that elusive victory, but may not come today, but she has been consistent. Number 4 is Thomas Scheckter. Tony Kanaan gets a look on the inside, and just moments ago, Thomas Scheckter, the yellow car is bringing him good luck, but Scott, moments ago, he had what you like to call a moment in the car.
Outside wheels on the concrete, starts to turn the thing in, and look at that. I'll tell you, talk about a talented driver. One of the guys with the most gift, I think, that sits inside that car right now. Amazing job to hang on to that.
It's at 150 miles an hour that he pulled that off, so Scheckter not only saves the car, he saves his position and able to keep Tony Kanaan in 5th. You are looking at the battle for 4th place as we ride on board and look behind Thomas Scheckter at Tony Kanaan, who sits in 5th. Well, Scotty, the next big issue for Sam Hornish is lap traffic, and we are just going past A.J. Foyt the 4th, and this is the 12th lap into it. Only 12 laps in, Elio Castroneves also gets the pass done, and this is the 7th race that Hornish has led this year, but his first since Richmond. Can Sam Hornish keep up this hot pace on a hot day in Milwaukee? Stick around and find out as the A.J. Foyt 225 continues. You go side by side. Welcome back to ESPN's coverage of the A.J. Foyt 225, the Milwaukee Mile. It's the ABC Supply Company A.J. Foyt 225 as we have just passed the halfway point in the IndyCar Series. And let's check in with a very warm Dr. Jerry Punch.
Guys, it is very, very warm here on pit road. The ambient air temperature is about 98.5 degrees. But here on pit road, I'm going to show you, it is 102, between 102 and 104 degrees here. And the race has just started, and these guys have yet to make their first stop. Behind pit wall here on the asphalt, it's 121. It is a scorcher here in Milwaukee.
All right, thank you, Doc. As we get back to Danica Patrick moments ago, having another moment, Scott. I know she ran the Toyota Atlantics, but the speeds are just a little bit different. She's running with a big pack of 22 plus.
Outside, you're clear.
Some great radio contact from the spotter. The turns come up so much quicker when you're driving something with 700 horsepower versus something with 350.
Dario ahead.
She gets the information. Now she's starting to settle into a pace. We're telling her to look forward, concentrate on the cars that are just up ahead of her. She's done a great job in qualifying throughout the whole year. 6 out of the 10 races so far, she's out-qualified her teammates, which I'm sure is not lost on both Buddy Rice and Vitor Mira. But you have to also give credit to both Vitor and Buddy because they're the ones with the experience, Todd, that are actually helping her get the car set up. And she's had a very lucky rookie year.
Fast lap 152, her last lap of 146. Lucky indeed. You think about the first race, 6 inches to the left, and Danica may be coming through with a higher placing so far in the overall standings.
As this race progresses, more and more rubber is going to go down on the racetrack, make it slippery. As we watch A.J. Foyt the 4th come in for, looks like not a very quick pit stop. Remember, this car crashed this morning, Todd. They repaired this race car, and you saw his hand movement there. What he's saying is that he's turning into the corner, and it feels like something is loose.
Jamie Little, what do you know?
Well, guys, remember, Dr. Punch said it earlier. We saw that crash by Foyt earlier, and they broke the suspension, they broke the gearbox, but Grandpa went back in there and repaired the car. So I have a feeling this has to do with some of those repairs that were not made. We'll get a word with A.J. later, but tough break for A.J. Foyt the 4th, getting out of the car right now. Todd?
Meanwhile, the other end of the spectrum, Sam Hornish Jr., your pole sitter, continues to lead. Elio Castroneves there sitting in second place. 6 is Hornish, 3 is Castroneves. And Scott, we talked about at the top of the show, the teams that have it, the teams that don't. It seems like Penske really understands these short track setups.
Well, we've talked about short track setups and said Penske perfect a few times this year simply because they know how to get the job done. They've qualified up front. The handling of the car is perfect throughout the complete run. And the consistency factor that we talked about, that's going to be the interesting thing to see if they can continue doing this for 60 or 70 laps.
On board with Thomas Scheckter, the Panther Racing Pennzoil car, and it looks like the Chevy-powered car is slowing down just a little bit. He was running in 4th, and now Tony Kanaan and Dario Franchitti both getting around him. He slides back to 6th, and here comes Danica Patrick.
Scheckter is for position.
Great information there, knowing that that's not a lapped car that she's after. That's a position. Always makes the driver in the seat just try that little bit harder, Todd, when you know that.
Scheckter seems to have found his groove just ahead of Danica Patrick, able to hold her off right now. She tries the inside line earlier in the day during practice. She said she didn't like the outside. It was too slick. She came in to get grip.
Outside. Still there. Outside.
She has the position, and Scheckter has to respect it, but they will go side by side here.
A nice run. Remember we talked about trying to run high, trying to run low, and right now Schecter's trying to get underneath Scott Sharp, who's actually having a very difficult day right now in the Delphi car, and Danica's starting to pick up a little bit of dirty air. You can see the speeds
nice
there,
job there,
just the last lap.
Down. You're lapping him.
Guys, Thomas Schecter's been battling a loose race car, and we saw that moment as Scott described it earlier in the day, and he was really battling there with Danica. And when that car is loose and you've got someone side by side, you want to make sure not only you're taking care of that car for your own good, but also for the competitor next to you. And right now it's a handful for Thomas Scheckter. Jamie Little?
Well, Vince, the first driver out is A.J. Foyt, the 4th. Anthony, what happened to your car?
We had an accident this morning and trying to get ready for the race, but the car not even close to being where it needs to be for me to be out there racing right now. Just all over the place, and there's no sense in taking a risk of crashing another car. We got to go to Michigan next weekend, but it's unfortunate that ABC is sponsoring this race, and we didn't do no better than that, but yeah, it wasn't good at all.
Tough to see A.J. Foyt, the 4th, out. After all, this race is named after his grandpa, and they have about 1,500 employees from ABC here to watch him.
Well, Scott, I think he made a wise call there. They've already put one car into the wall, and you want to risk putting a second one in.
You could see that decision was made when he came in pit lane. He took the steering wheel off the car. He was unbuckling, ready to get out. Was not going to be convinced by anybody in the team to stay out on the racetrack. Smart move.
Lap 32 of 225, more lap traffic as Elio Castroneves and Sam Hornish right there start to make their way through the field one more time. They are your leaders. Hornish having the pole sitting position and his teammate Elio Castroneves. We'll keep an eye on our leaders. We'll find out if Team Penske can continue to check out on the A.J. Foyt 225. Stick around, much more from Milwaukee after this. Welcome back to ESPN's coverage of the A.J. Foyt 225 as we take a look at the top 5. It is Sam Hornish Jr., Elio Castroneves, and Dan Weldon. Then Tony Kanaan and Dario Franchitti. So it's the battle between Penske and Andretti Green right now. And Roger Penske hasn't won here since his cars finished 1, 2, and 3 in 1994. And that was the year that Allis Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi, and Paul Tracy swept the podium. But he does have 5 Indy-style wins overall at Milwaukee. I don't want to say smooth sailing right now, Scott, but these guys are making it look easy.
Still a long way ahead, Paul. Or excuse me, Todd, I'm just calling you my friend. I'll tell you something. These guys are running so strong right now that I have to say they're going to run into traffic. If they can keep clean, they're outpacing the field right now by 2 or 3 miles an hour, both Sam Hornish and Elio Castroneves. It's amazing how they're just driving through traffic. Another one I've been watching also that's starting to come through is Danica Patrick, as she's starting to do a very good job of getting her rhythm underneath her, and she's actually starting to go through traffic also.
You saw that graphic moments ago. Team Penske very solid on the short tracks. And Sam Hornish right now is really just driving away from the competition. He and his teammate Elio Castroneves go 1 and 2 as we are on lap 40 of the scheduled 225 here at the Milwaukee Mile. Dan Weldon, Tony Kanaan, and Dario Franchitti round out the top 5, and Danica Patrick now has moved up to 6th place. So she did get around Thomas Schechter. So Danica possibly starting to find her way on this track. We've seen this before, Scott. She seems to start out, get in traffic, find her rhythm as Ray Lado was telling her, and then she starts moving forward.
And doing a tremendous job. Watch her right hand, right down there. She's starting to use the gear selection all the way through there. Very smart from her as a driver to keep the engine in the RPM of which it needs to run. That's up to 10,300 RPM with these engines in the Indy Racing League. A little bit slower through turns 1 and 2, gets back on the gas, clicks up to probably 5th gear, looks at the traffic ahead. This is where she needs to make a decision. Do I go high or low? She's now going to take the high line. Make sure she's clear of the traffic, back on the gas, trying to keep the momentum up as she starts to come back onto the front stretch.
That Firestone telemetry is amazing because it gives you an idea of just exactly how fast they're going and all the specs with a throttle at 100%. With those lateral G's, Scotty, 150 miles an hour is absolutely amazing with this heat. This is the battle for 4th. Tony Kanaan, number 11, just ahead of last week's winner, Dario Franchitti, both on the Andretti Green team. You heard Dan Weldon earlier tell us that he thought Dario Franchitti had the fastest car on the team.
Well, Dario's starting a little bit further back. He's sort of got to work his way past the guys in front, and that's very difficult because they're more running at your speed than the people are at the back. And we heard him just shouting something on the radio a moment ago about Tony, but Tony's running a great line in front. You run high going into the turn, low down to the center of the turn, down to the apex, and high back off again. Makes it very difficult to pass the car in front when he's running at about your speed. Traffic will play an issue. We talked about that as one of the keys to the race. Right now, as both these drivers from Andretti Green are starting to move their way up just close to Dixon, the red and white target car just ahead.
Guys, Darren Manning has been having problems the last 3 days. He keeps losing the rear end, getting so loose, so he just came in and they disconnected the rear bar. Scott, you can elaborate on that a little bit, but they're trying to help Darren. He's been off the back, he's off the pace, he's about 7 miles per hour slower than the front runners right now. We'll keep our eye on number 10 as they try to figure out their problems.
Well, Jamie, that's a good point. Disconnecting that rear bar, that means he's not even close to being happy with the race cars. We're watching Sam Hornish right now try to displace everybody that's in front of him. His car is running so well. That roll bar is very similar to what we have on road cars. It just helps control the body roll in the car, basically, and what they're doing is actually looking for grip, taking that bar off, and hopefully the back end will have some more grip and not want to slide up from underneath them.
This may be one of the toughest passes of the day as Sam Hornish tries to get around number 15. That's Buddy Rice, last year's Indianapolis 500 champion. He does it. I'll tell you right now, Sam Hornish just seems to keep this thing hooked up so well, Scott. The car is just dialed in perfectly. This may be Sam Hornish's day as we check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
That's not very good news for the competition because the Marlboro Team Penske cars are running right now what Roger Penske is calling a planned pace. They are running very deliberate laps, very smooth laps. They are not punishing the car. And here's the bad news for the competition. They are getting great fuel mileage. Roger Penske last time by said, nice and smooth, Sam. Great fuel mileage for both these cars. Penske, 7 poles, 5 wins, has a history of success here at Milwaukee and may get it done here today as one of his cars now tries to move in and make a pass on the backstretch.
Thank you, Doc. That's number 17, Vitor Meira, just getting passed by Sam Hornish. And Vitor Meira certainly no slouch, but on this short track, Sam is the man. Another development as we ride on board with Danica Patrick, currently running 6th. Thomas Schechter back in the game. He is re-engaged, and whatever the problem was, the folks at Chevrolet and Panther Pennzoil got have figured it out.
Well, we talked about roll bars. That's also something the drivers can adjust inside the cockpit, along with the weight jacker. Those roll bars change the suspension roll, front and rear. The weight jacker changes the weight of the pressure on the wheels, both left and on the right side on the front. So the key thing right now, probably making those adjustments might have helped it, or the racetrack's coming in to suit his car. So that's something that he's going to be punishing himself with all day, chasing this racetrack.
Thomas Schechter coming up on the outside as he goes side by side with Tony Kanaan. You'll do the same as we are on lap 51 of the A.J. Foyt 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. 225. Pacific Raceways in Kent, Washington plays host to the NHRA Powerade Series CarQuest Auto Parts Nationals. Catch final eliminations tonight on ESPN2 at 9 Eastern. Larry Dixon is the #1 qualifier in Top Fuel. The CarQuest Auto Parts Nationals are also available in high definition on ESPN2 HD. Call your cable operator or satellite provider today for more information. Log on to ESPN.com. So the leaders have just gone around a former IndyCar Series champion in Scott Dixon. And our leaders being that man, #6, Sam Hornish Jr., part of the Marlboro Team Penske. His teammate, Elio Castroneves, sits in second. We check in with Jamie Little.
Well, guys, apparently disconnecting that rear bar did not work. Darren Manning is out of the car and out of the race. Darren, what were the problems you were chasing all weekend?
Yeah, well, the first day was going pretty good. And then just things got worse and worse after Ryan's crash. We decided to go a little easy on setup and driving. And things just spiraled a bit out of control after that, really. And I lost my confidence a little bit with a couple of moments in qualifying. And the car was just way wicked loose there to stay out. And I was just trying to keep it out of everybody's way. And it's not the way this Target team likes to race. But we don't like to give up. So we'll have to have a bit of a rethink during this week and sit down and see what went wrong this weekend and come back fighting next weekend at Michigan.
All right, Darren Manning, #10, out of the race. We have a yellow now for debris.
All right, thank you, Jamie. As the speeds come down, so Target Chip Ganassi is down to 1 car as Ryan Briscoe took the hard hit yesterday qualifying, and now problems mechanically for Darren Manning. Scott, I know you know this, but Darren Manning, he's a heck of a crossover athlete. This guy plays golf, he's a wakeboarder, and if you haven't guessed, he's from the UK.
Well, you know, I played golf with him, and actually gave me a few golf tips of which I needed desperately. But, you know, certainly a very fierce competitor. Joined the team last year with Chip Ganassi, finished 11th in the series. Very strong. Surprise he's not actually been up front a little bit more this year, but they have struggled, Todd, on the short tracks like this. They get to the bigger tracks where Toyota maybe doesn't have as much power, so they're a little bit behind there. They had some looks of brilliance at Richmond earlier, but didn't sort of pan out for them, and they've had a lot of crashed race cars. Scott Dixon crashed here twice last year, and then Darren Manning in the race. And then as we're watching here, let's just look at all the rubber marbles that are actually on the outside of the racetrack. That's already developing here at lap 59 and 60.
There your Toyota lap leader, singular, Sam Hornish Jr. with all 59. If you're just joining us, the yellow flag is out for debris only. And as Scott Goodyear pointed out, the rubber that is coming off the tires, normal wear and tear on these Firestone Firehawks, starting to build up on the outside, and it looks like they are going to sweep the track as we check in pit row with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, first yellow flag of the day, lap 60. They peel off on what is a very bumpy pit road here. And you see the triple split pit. Sam Hornish, Elio Castroneves, teammates, and Danica Patrick, 1st, 2nd, and 7th on pit road. No change for Hornish, no change for Castroneves. Both those cars are already in their pits getting 4 fresh Firestone. Watch the bottom of your screen. Ray Deotte and company changing tires for Danica Patrick. Hornish is out. Castroneves is out. 9.7. Great stop for Hornish. 9.4. Really good stop for Danica Patrick as they head back to turn 1 under yellow pit top conditions here at Milwaukee.
Well, as you see at pit exit, Hornish Jr. goes in 1, comes out 1. Dan Weldon in 3, out 2, and Elio Castroneves drops the position, but for everyone else, it's the same. So it goes Sam Hornish Jr., Dan Weldon, and Elio Castroneves, the slight shakeup in the front.
Very impressive stop for Patrick Carpentier, who that was the car that actually beat out Elio Castroneves out of the pit box. Almost a collision with those 2 cars. Actually started to come into the pit lane, speed up lane, leading onto the racetrack.
We'll find out if we get a little strategy for you when we step aside, and we come back much more from Milwaukee and the Milwaukee Mile at the Wisconsin State Fair after this. You are looking live at the top 5 at the A.J. Foyt 225 in Milwaukee. Sam Hornish continues to lead. Dan Weldon has now moved into 2nd, then Castroneves, Franchitti, and Thomas Schechter moves up now into 5th place. As we look at number 3, this is Elio Castroneves, and Scott, despite going into the pits under yellow, it was not all safe and sound for Elio.
Number 6, Hornish is on his way by, and here goes Elio having a hard time getting around Herta. Comes out and uses more than just the transfer lane, and Carpentier on the right-hand side has to take evasive maneuver and actually beats him to the line. So a great pit strategy by the Red Bull Team Cheever team. In and out very quickly, Todd.
Patrick Carpentier coming off a great performance last week in Nashville, where he finished third for the Red Bull Cheever team. Patrick Carpentier, also known as a speed skater. This guy does it all. Unfortunately, we ran that footage of him draped only in a checkered flag set of briefs, and I don't know how many people that might have scared away. But Patrick Carpentier currently running 10th, started 14th, so he is certainly on the move up.
Just spent a little bit of time on blades here recently at the Petite Center right around the corner doing some ice skating, something that he's loved to do back in Canada. Had a chance to get back on the blades.
I think most Canadians were born with skates on. I'm not sure.
Most of us were, actually. Yeah. Scott Sharp right here, his 100th consecutive start, 108 total.
No question, Scott Sharp is certainly the Iron Man of the IndyCar Series. We talked to him about this momentous occasion earlier this week.
I think it'd be a great way to cap, the 100 races off, but I want to win every race, bad. So, I mean, every time I strap in the car, I'm an intensely competitive person. Even if it's practice, I want to be at the top of practice. So that doesn't, I don't need any more motivation to try to go win the race. It'd be a great storyline, but we want to win every race. The biggest change for me is just the depth of the field. Certainly when we first started, even through the first few years, there was always 4 or 5 cars that were mainly at the front, the guys that really had the legitimate chance, and now it's just so deep. I mean, if you're on, you can be P1. If you're a little bit off, you can easily be P15.
Guys, Scott Sharp has run well on the short tracks this season. He was 5th at Phoenix and had a good run going at Richmond before he was crashed out. This race has been a little bit more challenging. His crew said this car is loose as a goose. They made the tires pressure and wing adjustment, and we'll see if it's a little better in this second stint. Jamie Little?
Well, obviously today it's 100 degrees, Vince, and water is very important. Now, most of these drivers, they have a Camelback in the car, and they have a tube that comes to their mouth through their helmet, and that's how they drink. Well, Tony Kanaan told us by the end of the race, it is so hot. Or you could be Buddy Lazier, and you can't even get your water right now. So this is what's going to happen in the next pit stop. This is their contraption. What they're going to do, they're going to take the bottle of water, stick it in here, put it inside the cockpit. Buddy will take a drink and then get back out on the track. So pretty high-tech things here, but guys, these guys are sweating unbelievably. It's 100 degrees, like I said, so we'll see what happens. Dr. Punch?
Thank you, Jamie. From water to the wind. Now, the wind rapidly becoming a factor here. The winds have picked up significantly here, and a number of drivers, including last year's winner here, Dario Franchitti, complaining that the wind picking up now is creating problems. His car is getting loose in turn 1. You see those flags flying? They were almost lying flaccid here about 20 minutes ago, but the wind has picked up and is now gusting probably 8 to 12 miles an hour. And Franchitti says that wind is causing his car, Elio Castroneves, and a few others to be loose entering turn 1. And Scott Goodyear, can that little amount of wind make that big a difference here?
Well, certainly, because at both ends of the racetrack, Doc, the cars are going to handle differently going into turn 1. With that wind coming across the front of the wings, that car is going to turn very quickly, very positive into the turn, and then it's going to make the back end to sort of walk itself around on the exit of 2. Now going into 3 with that tailwind, you're going to get more miles per hour into the turn. It's actually going to make the car run a little bit loose on the entry to 3, and then it's going to be a little bit positive coming out of 4. So a lot of changes going on just because of this wind. Vince Welsh?
Guys, Thomas Scheckter, you've noted that he's had some handling issues. His left front weight jacker is stuck, and he's unable to adjust it. At this point, Scott, they're saying that they're just going to try to address the situation through tire pressure adjustments. I'm not sure how much success Schechter's going to have with that issue the rest of the way.
Well, Vince, the weight jacker that you're talking about is actually 2 paddles for the driver. One is here on the left and on the right-hand side, and what he does is he actually just pushes the little paddles electronically. It changes the weight on the car. Now, if that's stuck, that's not something that he has to be able to use, not a tool in his arsenal, so to speak. He still will have the opportunity to just use the roll bars, but then they, like you say, they're going to have to use wing adjustments and tire pressures to try to make this car work a little bit better as the race progresses.
Well, next Sunday, the IRL returns to ABC in the Michigan International Speedway for the Firestone 400. That's a 2-mile D-shaped oval. The defending champion, of course, Buddy Rice. He won in a fuel mileage throttle last year over Tony Kanaan. Remember, it is ABC's coverage of the Michigan International Speedway Firestone 400, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific on ABC, and that was Buddy Rice's last win last year. Since then, it has certainly been a drought for the Ray Hall Letterman driver, a Indianapolis 500 winner. So as they come around, it looks like we will get a green flag, and Sam Hornish Jr., very good on restarts, but look at Danny Weldon starting to sneak up there. Scott, is he going to try to jump him?
That's what he wants to try to do. It's all about timing.
Green flag.
third car right there, the number 2, with Buddy Lazier aboard, taking over from Thomas Inge, who was hurt. He is a lap down right now. What he's trying to do is to actually catch up to both Danny Weldon in front of him and then Sam Hornish and get back around those guys so he can get back on the lead lap.
He currently sits in 9th place as they come around one more time. Lap number 72. Hornish is your leader. Weldon sits in 2nd place. Castroneves in 3rd.
You talk about Buddy getting his lap back, Todd. That means Sam Hornish has actually lapped everybody all the way up until Brian Herta, who is actually currently running in 8th. So everybody else is either a lap or 2 laps down, just showing you the dominance of the first few cars.
Well, Scott, you look at Sam Hornish right now taking the outside line. Is he intentionally going out there to lay down rubber so he can use it later in the race?
Run your fuel down. Copy.
Getting information about trying to trim his fuel down. Saving a little bit of information there. What he's doing with that high line right now, Todd, we talked about some guys like it up there because they get a little bit more grip they feel with their car because of the concrete not going over that black asphalt that has been put down. And some teams like to run on the low side, as we talked about. But right now, he can do that because they just swept the track and the high line is still available for him. If we get a long run here where we don't have any yellows, those little rubber marbles off the tires start to creep down. He might not be so brave to run that high as the race progresses.
And that is natural deterioration of the Firestone Firehawks at this speed. With these temperatures, Scott, it's amazing that they hold up as long as they do.
And they brought a softer left-hand compound here to give the guys a little bit more grip because this track is flat, as we talked about. No banking, but what great tires they have brought here simply because they stand up to the heat, the punishment that these guys are running at average laps of over 150 miles an hour.
Lap number 77 of a scheduled 225. Your leader, Sam Hornish Jr. right there, the 26-year-old out of Defiance, Ohio. Picked up 1 victory this year with his teammate picking up another at Richmond. So Team Penske already with 2 victories at the halfway point here of the IndyCar Series in 2005. Dan Weldon has 4 victories. He sits in 2nd place right there. The Klein Tools Jim Beam driver. Also the big one, though, Scotty, the Indianapolis 500. A lot of talk this week of Dan Weldon possibly getting a test with Formula One. Also NASCAR possibly interested in him. I know it's business, and Dan told us both, talk is cheap in this business, but do you see him around for the long haul at the IndyCar Series?
Interesting. Asked him in that conversation this morning. He said, you know, right now I am focusing on my job that I have at hand, and that's to win the championship here. It wouldn't be fair to my current team if I actually started to go and pay attention to do some other things. But like you said, Todd, he said, talk is cheap right now. I'm very happy with what I'm doing, enjoying it. I just want to win the championship. We'll see what happens later in the year.
There's Dan Weldon, number 26, as we take a look at the points leaders at the halfway mark. Back in 2001, it was Sam Hornish, and of course, he went on to get the title. Eli Castroneves came up just a little bit short in 02, and Tony Kanaan dominating in 03, but had a tough second half, finishing 4th, but in 04, he got it right and got the victory. And right now, our leader at the halfway point is number 26, the Klein Tools Jim Beam of Dan Weldon. And here's a nice little battle shaping up here. These guys have seen plenty of each other, whether it's in their front view of their rear view mirror. There's Tony Kanaan and Thomas Schechter. They are currently battling for that 5th place position that Kanaan holds down right now, the 11 green and white car. So 80 laps complete at the A.J. Foyt 225 at the Milwaukee Mile. We'll have much more. Can Castroneves, Weldon, and Hornish continue this fevered pace? Stick around and find out. Welcome back to ESPN's coverage of the A.J. Foyt 225 from the Milwaukee Mile. It's a 1-mile oval. Todd Harris along with Scott Goodyear, Dr. Jerry Punch, Vince Welch, and Jamie Little reporting on a very hot day, and that is an understatement with temperatures in the 90s, humidity nearly matching that, but we are going 225, and right now riding on board with Thomas Schechter, now checking up behind him, and that is Danica Patrick, who currently is running in 7th place.
Todd, I think this is probably one of the impressive races that she had this year. I know she did a great job at Indianapolis and led, but I'm sitting here watching her 2 teammates that are already a lap down, both Vitor Meira and Buddy Rice, and they're struggling with their cars. They're not handling it the way they'd like them to. But you know something? She has just been running very strong and pushing the car, and she's up there chasing these guys and on the lead lap, and give her outstanding points for doing just a great job.
Well, last year by lap number 80 at Milwaukee, Kanaan, Hornish, and Brian Herta had all led. This year, it is the Sam Hornish Jr. show. He has led every lap thus far at the Milwaukee Mile. Well, he's put Dixon down yet another lap, Scott, and I know we talked about Scott Dixon trying to get that back, and he's going to go down yet another lap. And Sam Hornish is just unstoppable today.
Well, we just saw it with Scott Dixon, obviously struggling with the steering wheel, just trying to get the car going around the turn. They have not had great success here, as we mentioned, with the target cars at this racetrack. But as you're sitting in the car, if you're Scott Dixon right now, it's just a long day and you're just counting off the laps. I've been in that situation where, you know, the car's not working for you and you're just trying to keep out of everybody's way. The radio spotter right there telling you now cars are on the outside.
You talk about the pressure on Scott Dixon. Not only is he now 2 laps down and the leaders are taking a pace that he's unable to match right now, but the word is that anyone on that Target Chip Ganassi team crashed the car, pink slip time.
You know, you don't want that pressure on you when you get in there, but right now, all Scott Dixon is going to be hearing is the spotter. And Packy, as we call him, Glenn Wheeler, is probably just in his ear all day long, and that's just not a fun day.
Countdown 3.
Hear how much he's off the gas right now, just raising off the gas going in through the turns. It's just a very difficult time for him. Getting back on the gas. Sees that people are coming up from behind, peeking in the mirrors, just trying to stay on the low side. He's down where, you know, most people say it's the greasiest, down on that blacktop, but just trying to keep out of everybody's way. You're driving as much looking forward, Todd, as you are looking in the mirror.
Scott Dixon going 135, our leader going 150. On board with Dario Franchitti with his teammate Tony Kanaan right behind him. This is the battle for 4th place. Dario Franchitti holding down 4th right now. There you see Tony Kanaan checking in with a faster time, but just unable to get a run. And Scott, there's really not a lot of opportunities to pass here unless your car is running like Sam Hornish's.
I'm surprised that these Andretti Green guys actually aren't up in a hotter pursuit, and probably more so Franchitti because he had looked so strong. But you know, maybe there's a bit of a race strategy playing out here. Keep the leaders in sight. Make the car work better through each pit stop, because what really counts is obviously the last part of the race.
So Andretti Green right now sits in 2nd place, also in 4th with Dario Franchitti, and in 5th with Tony Kanaan. Brian Herta sits in 8th place as Dan Weldon flies the flag for Andretti Green, currently sitting in 2nd place, and we check in with Vince Welch.
Well, as good as the run has been for Sam Hornish Jr., Dan Weldon also having a solid run as he keeps Hornish in his sights. They made no chassis adjustments on that first pit stop, just tire and fuel, so that gives you an indication that the Klein Jim Beam's tool machine is working pretty well, other than the normal challenges that every driver is facing out here on this tricky racetrack so far. You know, Weldon has not won since Indianapolis after winning 4 of the first 5 races, and that's been frustrating for him a little bit. He wants to get back to victory lane, but he also realizes he's got to be a little conservative because of the championship. And Scott, I think that'd be kind of a tricky situation for a driver.
He's got to think about points. The whole thing he has to remember is that if he can't make the car win, make the car a 2nd place car, finish 2nd if that's indeed what you have. That's how champions win championships.
Scott Dixon finally making a pit stop there, and talk about fuel efficiency. You know, Dixon may be laying up a little bit there, Scott, but he got it home and he put out a lot of laps.
Well, 94, 95 laps. Remember, he's off the gas so much right now because the car is not handling, that he's not consuming that much fuel. And as a driver, I can tell you, I'd rather be using a lot more fuel and having the car working and going a lot quicker.
So Dixon is in and out in the pits. And Sam Hornish continues to lead. Dan Weldon in 2nd. Elio Castroneves in 3rd. You are watching ESPN's coverage of the A.J. Foyt 225 from the historic Milwaukee Mile, just on the outskirts of beautiful Milwaukee on a hot day. Much more when we return to the heartland of America. Folks, a reminder, Monday night, ESPN2 and ABC cover the 7th annual Lincoln Financial Battle at the Bridges. The 1-round, 2-player best ball tournament features British Open winner Tiger Woods and John Daly taking on Phil Mickelson and Retief Goosen for a chance of splitting the $1.2 million purse. The Lincoln Financial Battle at the Bridges on ESPN2 at 7 Eastern. Then coverage moves to ABC at 8 Eastern. For more information, log on to ESPN2. Why don't they want to have us battle out for $1.2 million? That's good TV.
That is actually an excellent idea.
Might take longer than a night, but that's good TV.
We should do it by driving, though.
There's no competition there. I'd smoke you. Anyways, back to the race. Lap 103 of 225 here at the A.J. Foyt 225. Sam Hornish continues to lead. Dan Weldon in second. Elio Castroneves sits in third, but the word from the pits is Elio is quite frustrated, Doc, unable to get a run on the man in front of him in Buddy Lazier.
Exactly, guys. Elio Castroneves, we told you earlier, he'd been battling a bit of an oversteer. The car gets better on long runs, and it is getting better. Tim Cindric, the president of Penske Racing, he's telling Elio, be patient, my friend. Be very patient. The car will get better. If you try to drive it too aggressively, you can lose your car and possibly Buddy Lazier as well. So Elio showing the patience of a champion and a two-time Indy 500 winner, just hanging on and holding on to his spot right now in third. Let's check in down pit road with Vince Welch.
Earlier, Doc documented the heat down here, 100 degrees down on pit lane, and normally you see all these crew members up on the pit wall watching the cars go by on the track. Not the case today. They're all in the shade trying to stay out of the sun, because when their 10 seconds is up, they want to be 100% and not be feeling the effects of the heat.
I'll tell you what, that's going to be the new thing in Hollywood. It's going to be called the IndyCar Series diet. Put on a fire suit and a helmet and come out to Milwaukee in July, and you'll drop 7 pounds. Put it back on when you go home and drink, but it's brutal out here.
The last crew member you saw there, Mike Horvath, who's the crew chief for Danny Weldon, got his new watch for winning the Indianapolis 500, because you get a timepiece when you actually have your driver win the Indianapolis 500. He just got that awarded to him just about a week ago, so he was quite excited about to get that new timepiece. Some of the perks of being a crew member.
Toyota lap leaders moments ago, you saw it, hasn't changed much. Toyota lap leader, singular once again, is Sam Hornish with all 107 laps. They've been his. I think this is one of those days where he's just got that thing, Scotty, on autopilot, and it is just working perfectly.
Now look at Lazier, the number 2 car, that Rockstar car, ended up coming out the low side, coming out of 2 to go around the traffic that they're trying to get through. And because Elio Castroneves' car is having a little bit of an oversteer problem, could not run the tight line coming off the turn, had to go high into the outside.
Elio Castroneves does sit in second place, but he's trying to overtake Buddy Lazier, who is a lap down, and Castroneves, as Dr. Jerry Punch reported, unable to get it done right now. Telling the Brazilian race car driver to be patient is something you don't like to do. I know from our experience with our good friend Gilles Defer, and be patient, Gilles. That didn't go very far.
Well, patience, I think, exactly what he's hearing from the team, and it's important because he is 4th in the championship right now, and you've got all Andretti green cars ahead of you in the championship taste, and Penske certainly is always looking towards winning championships.
4th member of the Andretti Green team there is number 7. That is Brian Herta from Valencia, California. Number 7 also in the XM Satellite Honda. This guy is stellar. He's consistent. Has not picked up a victory this year, but certainly looked good, especially in St. Petersburg.
Really a driver with a road course history, but has really just been shining on ovals. Very much, I would say, almost like a mathematician. Likes to sit back and calculate everything that he's going to do on the racetrack, and really the development driver for the Andretti Green team.
Brian Herta currently running in 8th place. Sam Hornish continues to lead. Weldon, Castroneves round out the top 3. Then it's Dario Franchitti and Tony Kanaan. Lap 111 of 225, nearing the halfway point here at the A.J. Foyt 225 in beautiful but hot and muggy Milwaukee. But the heat has certainly not affected Hornish. And Elio Castroneves, we're hearing, has finally gotten around Buddy Lazier. There you see 2nd place. That is Dan Weldon in the Klein Tools Jim Beam Honda. There's Elio Castroneves, number 3. The Brazilian that now lives in Miami, currently running in 3rd. And you worry about his car, Scotty. How soon do you think it's going to come back to him? He's talking about, they said, Tim Cindric, his chief, said it will come back to you eventually. Is it going to be something instantaneously, or is it just going to start getting used to what he has?
Well, when you talk about that, Todd, when it comes back to you, it's when you're burning the fuel load off, the car's becoming lighter, and the balance changes more favorable to what the driver wants. And sometimes the car is better at the beginning and goes off, and sometimes it gets better as the run goes on. His car happens to do that. That might come down to play a key actually, when you have a situation later in the race when you have it.
We got to pass. I'm sorry, Scotty. We got to pass the halfway point, and Dan Weldon gets by Sam Hornish. So we will have to change the Toyota lap leader to lap leaders as Dan Weldon has made a move to the front. Well, it sounds like Sam Horner's got a little loosened too. Let's watch this.
Watch the back end of the car. It starts to get loose. It will start to walk itself around a little bit. Just a little wiggle right there, Todd, on the exit of the turn. There's a bump going through 1 and 2. Danny Weldon told me this morning that the car was very loose going over the bump for him, and that they were going to make some changes after warm-up. Certainly it seems like maybe they've guessed the right way, but this is something we just started to talk about the balance of a race car, and maybe now Sam's car is starting to go off as the run continues on.
So for the first time in the day, Dan Weldon is your leader. Sam Hornish, the pole sitter, has slid to second place, and Helio Castroneves maintains third. Will Weldon continue to move up, or will Sam Hornish reclaim his lead? Stick around and find out. Welcome back to Milwaukee. Right now, the Penske's look dominant. Unfortunately, they are running 2 and 3, and Dan Weldon is way out in front. Scotty, whatever he's changed on that car, if he made a change with the weight jacker, it is certainly working, because the Penske team looks like they are working together to reel him back in.
Consistently 2 miles an hour faster than both the Penske cars, so he certainly has picked up the pace, because he was used to be running about 148 miles an hour, and now it's the Penske cars that are running that speed.
Hey guys, a moment ago, Roger Penske told Sam Hornish when Helio Castroneves came up right behind him. We were in commercial a moment ago, and Helio tried to make a move on the inside, and Roger told Sam, he said, go ahead and let Helio go. He's quicker than you, I believe. Well, that's all Sam Hornish needed to hear, because he pulled away by 3 car lengths, and now here's Helio back again. We'll see if Sam will indeed let him go.
And he does just like that. He tried that move earlier, 2 laps before, Doc, and it didn't seem to work. Sam shut it down. This time, Hornish content to let his teammate go by, and so whatever problems were ailing Helio Castroneves, the 3 car for Roger Penske, they've certainly worked themselves out.
The consistency factor that we talked about, and we talked about the car right now, 26. Danny Weldon starting to come back to him. Down to pit lane with Vince Welch.
John, you didn't make any changes with the car when you came in, when Dan came in before. Why all of a sudden does it look like the car has taken off?
He's just maintaining a good, steady pace. We, obviously, with a very hot day like today, it's going to get slippery. We seem to have a handle on it so far, but we're just over halfway, so who knows what's going.
Thanks, John.
Looking good so far.
You know what's interesting is every time Dan Weldon, I don't know if you call this sandbagging, but every time he comes back from final practice hot as a hornet, he seems to run real well. I don't know if his crew just gets it together or what, but boy, today, before the race, he sure wasn't happy with the way the car was running, the way things were working, and now he's out in front.
He's been a man on the mission. Remember, he said last year that his whole key thing was to win the Indianapolis 500. If there wasn't a more focused driver through the month of May than Dan Weldon, he certainly lived true to his word and got it accomplished. And right now, like he said to us this morning, I just want to win this championship.
Weldon has led 13 laps. The rest of them have gone to Sam Hornish Jr., who currently sits, and we've got an incident. Danica Patrick has gone into the wall. On lap 127, Danica Patrick has made contact.
You all right? All right, that was a nice run today.
In fact, she just turned a lap over 150 miles an hour when she was running in 6th place, and that's the same speed that Danny Weldon was going, so.
Bobby Rahal on the left, co-owner with David Letterman. And unfortunately, Danica Patrick has made contact with the wall. We'll have to get a look at it. The good news is she's okay. You heard her, Scotty, back to Bobby Rahal saying, I'm okay, and they told her a good run so far today. And, you know, we talked about it. She has experience here at the Toyota Atlantic, and she is trying to fan herself, trying to get out. Dr. Jerry Punch and Jamie Little documented just how hot it is down there, and you can see how tight the quarters are with the fire suit, with the helmet, the gloves, the whole combination, and she is just cooked.
Probably cooked and probably mad. Just know that she had a great car today, but you know, you have to give her credit. I mentioned that before. She's out there pushing the car as hard as she possibly can. And things like that certainly happen when you start to drive over the line. See, she got right to the middle of the turn. You see Thomas Scheckter there in the Yellow Pennzoil car just got it sideways to avoid a misser. Let's ride with her. She's on her way in. Little high, back in, starts to come around. Thomas Scheckter going past in the yellow Pennzoil car.
Well, unfortunately for Danica, she was running in 6th place. Let's watch in front of her, see if there's anything in front of it.
Now Dario Franchitti's also coming out of the turn. Look at Dario Franchitti. You know, there just might be something on the racetrack there, Todd, because if there's just a little bit of oil or something down there, for Franchitti to actually have that little bit of a wiggle, and he's trying to come out of the center of the turn. Go. Riding on board with Dario Franchitti. What a big correction he has right there. Possibly some oil or something down the racetrack, and then all of a sudden, right behind him comes along Danica Patrick.
There's Danica's fiance, Paul Hospital. They're letting him know that she's radio back, that she's okay. Physical therapist by trade, so he may be going to work right now. Unfortunate turn of events as we check in with Jamie Little.
Well, Todd, certainly something we haven't seen from Danica Patrick in a long time. Since the first race, actually, she finished the last 8 races in a row. And Bobby Rahal is here. Bobby, I know you just watched the replay. What did you see?
Well, I just got away from her. I mean, I noticed Dario. You know, everybody's been slipping and sliding. And Dario almost lost it just before she did, and just got away from her. And too bad. She was doing a good job.
Well, pits are open now, we're being told. I have to ask you, it seems like you guys have been pretty conservative on this setup with Danica. We're going to go back down to Vince Welch. Vince?
Dan Weldon bringing it in. He's the race leader. They've just communicated with him on the radio to tell him to be smart. Make sure you hit your marks. You've got plenty of room since Tony Kanaan is not in the box behind him. There is Weldon hitting the marks perfectly. The fuel is in. No chassis adjustments expected here. Just Firestones and fuel. Still no issues. Oh, they had a problem with the fuel. They've got the fuel hose stuck into the car. Now they finally get it out. Jerry?
Elio Castroneves, no changes. A major front wing changes as you watch the scramble off of pit road. And we have one car stalled at the end of pit road. That is Buddy Lazier, the 95 car. In the Rockstar machine, the car is sideways on pit road, and they go out and rush to his aid. But I'll finish telling you that Sam Hornish a moment ago, one turn of wing out. We saw that big bobble with Hornish in the middle of the corner. They hope they've rectified that. No change whatsoever on Elio Castroneves, as now they try to get the 2 car restarted for Buddy Lazier.
Well, as they attend to the Rockstar car, I will just go back in time. One of Scott Goodyear's keys was pit lanes. That was your 3rd key, consistency, traffic, and pit lanes. And we saw it right there. Almost a disaster for Dan Weldon.
Well, we have to find out exactly what happened with him, but as I mentioned before, very bumpy. There's some damage there with the car. Looks like maybe a collision with another car. We'll have to find out what car he collided with. It is a very wide pit lane, Todd. The lanes are very wide, but the pit boxes are very short, so you have to try and angle your car out as quickly as possible. The very top side there, you see Franchitti is all the way over to the fast lane. No, let's take that back. It's number 20, Carpenter, who's actually coming out on your right-hand lane here. Let's watch on the right-hand side. Some contact just with the left front suspension of the 2 Rockstar car of Buddy Lazier, and that's ended his day.
And you can see the reaction that he had. Nowhere to go, and I don't know if Ed Carpenter even saw him on the outside. I don't know if that's a spotter's job, but he had nowhere to go. Let's check in with Vince.
Well, the 20 car is back in as well. Now you're looking at Buddy Lazier climbing, preparing to climb out of his race car. Left front suspension damage, also on the right side as well. Both the bars on both sides are bent, and as Lazier comes out of the car, it just reminds me of what he told me earlier today as he subs for Tomasz Inga in this race. He said, I just want to bring the car home today. They've already got one wrecked race car that has number 2 on it. I want to make sure they don't have another. Well, it's not working out the way Buddy had hoped, obviously, and we'll have a word with him as soon as he gets his helmet off.
That's frustrating, Scotty, because it was on pit lane. I know that was one of your keys, but you think with the racing we had today so far, very clean race.
Now watch this as we're along Thomas Scheckter.
That was
there's no thinking about that, Todd.
Yeah.
That's just a reaction time. Sort of like driving with you in the morning in the rental car at the racetrack.
Don't let the rental car people know that. Great driving by Thomas Scheckter. And Scott, is this a survival race? I mean, just stay out of your own way?
Absolutely. Heard so many people say it. 225 laps.
We are under caution at the A.J. Foyt 225, 134 laps. We're going 225 on a hot day. You go side by side. We'll be back in a moment. At the A.J. Foyt 225, Dan Weldon continues to lead, followed by Elio Castroneves, Sam Hornish Jr., Dario Franchitti, and Tony Kanaan. So 3 members of Andretti Green sitting in the top 5. Also, both members of Team Penske running 2nd and 3rd. Hey, a reminder, folks, the Pacific Raceways in Kent, Washington plays host to the NHRA Powerade Series CarQuest Auto Parts National. Catch final eliminations tonight on ESPN2 at 9 Eastern. Number 1 qualifier, Mike Thomas leads one of the fastest Pro Stocks fields in history. The CarQuest Auto Parts Nationals are also available in high definition on ESPN2 HD. Call your cable operator or satellite provider today for more information. You can always log on to ESPN.com as we check in with Dr. Jerry Punch and Roger Penske.
Standing by with Roger. Roger, Sam Hornish looked almost unbeatable the first 100 laps, and the car abruptly jumped a little, wiggled a little bit in the middle of the turn. What happened?
Well, he said it jumped loose on him, and we didn't know where they had a tire going down. We were watching our pressure sensors. Everything looked fine, so we just said, let's take it easy here and put the fresh set on, and we'll see what happens. But we had a good car, but, you know, Weldon's strong, too, and both he and Elio are guys we got to beat.
Wing change a moment ago. Are you adjusting for the wind picking up?
Well, we took some wing out. We just, as a precaution, we took some wing out, too, to give a little easier front end. But we'll see if that's good or bad once we get going.
Okay, thank you very much, Roger Penske. Guys, we'll check in with Vince.
With Kyle Moyer from Dario Franchitti's team. Kyle, did Dario radio in at all that there may have been something on the track? It looked like he wiggled and then Danica crashed coming off the same spot.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were a little loose already on the exit too, but nothing like that. And he went through there, and the car just went totally sideways on him, and he got on the radio and yelled oil. And about that time, that's when Danica hit it. It must have been put on there right before we went through there. There was a group of 5 of us running together, and we all sort of skid everywhere. And Danica looks like she got the sore end of it.
Thanks, Kyle. Let's go back upstairs. Todd?
All right, thank you, Vince. They just got done sweeping the outside, so those marbles have gone away, so we are in good shape, and hopefully we'll be able to also talk with Danica Patrick momentarily as the pace car tells them to bring it up. They give Roger Yasukawa a wave around. And we thank our partners giving you that side-by-side restart. Welcome back to the Milwaukee Mile. Todd Harris along with Scott Goodyear calling the action here, and our leader continues to be Dan Weldon, number 26. On the Klein Tools Jim Beam Honda behind him, it's Elio Castroneves, number 3. Sam Hornish Jr. has moved up to 3rd place. So it is AGR and Team Penske in the chase of a lifetime. Right now, let's check in with Jamie Little, who's, I'm sure, with a very disappointed Danica Patrick.
That's true. I mean, good thing she's okay, but she is very disappointed and frustrated right now. Danica, we watched replay after replay. From your perspective, what happened? It looked like something may have been on the track in front of you.
It was just such a sudden snap that, I mean, the groove had definitely widened out through the race. And I was just pretty much where I had been the whole time, not going any faster, and it just snapped. So it very well could have been my fault, but I heard that Dario had some action in his steering wheel on the same lap, so I don't know, maybe it wasn't my fault, but I'll take the blame.
Right before your incident happened, I was talking to your crew about your car seems to be set up more neutral than we've seen. They're letting you get away with a little bit more. Was that the case?
You know, that's kind of what we were going for here. It seemed like, you know, with understeer, if the front end couldn't get around the corner, you just couldn't get around the corner. So we did aim towards a more neutral oversteer car, and maybe it bit us in the end.
Unfortunate for Danica Patrick. She was running 6th on the lead lap. Had a great car, guys. We hate to see her out for her 2nd time this year.
Good to see Danica okay as we are back to green flag racing. Dan Weldon leads as we are on board with Dario Franchitti here at the A.J. Foyt 225, the Milwaukee Mile. Todd Harris, Scott Goodyear, Dr. Jerry Punch, Vince Welch, and of course Jamie Little down there who just spoke with Danica Patrick. There's Dario currently running 4th. He started 8th, and his last lap's got a 153. And at this point in the race, where do you think the pit strategy is going to come into play?
Well, if there's some yellows from this point forward, maybe these people might be able to get through on this tank that they have, Todd. That's a long shot right now. But as a driver, if you have a yellow, I think I'd like to come in, maybe put a bit of fuel in just to be sure. But the other side of that is putting on new tires can always help, especially when you're going to have a sprint towards the end. You mentioned the speed. These guys have actually, after that last pit stop, been running as high as 155 miles an hour, so the pace is increasing.
There's the Firestone telemetry the speeds going up to nearly 170, hitting 170, and then dropping way back down. He cracks the throttle once again, but right back at 100%.
Watch the G-forces build here as he starts to turn into the turn. We took that away from you, so you won't see that, but getting up to around 3.5 to 4 Gs in the turns.
There's your different angle of Dario Franchitti. Franchitti currently running in 4th place. His teammate, Dan Weldon, the Indianapolis 500 winner, currently your leader, number 26, the Klein Tools Jim Beam car. Honda out in front. He has led 36 laps, so this race really, Scott, has been dominated by 2 drivers, Dan Weldon and Sam Hornish Jr.
One Honda powered, one Toyota powered. It just shows you that everybody expects Honda to dominate because of the power, but this track is relying on the handling of the race car.
And the driver, and speaking of which, Thomas Scheckter is starting to move up on another Andretti Green driver. That is Brian Herta. This is the battle for 6th place, and we talk about a different power plant. Thomas Scheckter running the Chevrolet here, so a lot of parity right now in the IndyCar Series, especially on the short track.
We were hearing a little bit of rumbling that maybe Herta might try and do a bit of a fuel conserve run here and maybe try and make it all the way through to the end. We'll have to see if that's going to be the case.
Back on board with Thomas Scheckter. There you see the name just above his steering wheel. And they have a little something going over there, Panther Pennzoil. If he wins and that name's on there, that person, it looks like Vicky Peters, gets a trip to the finale out in California in October.
Probably one of the best fan clubs that you can ever have right there. The name's just above the steering wheel. I don't think Thomas is spending too much time looking at it, but great opportunity for the fans out there if they want to log on to Pennzoil Panther Racing and sort of see how that works. It'd be a neat thing to do.
Thomas giving a national shout out to Vicky Peters. See if it brings him any luck. We'll see if Scheckter can continue to move up. He currently sits in 7th place. Right now he has to deal with Brian Herta. You go side by side. With just over 65 laps to go at the A.J. Foyt 225, Dan Weldon, number 26, continues to lead. As we will slide back in the field and show you just about everyone and where they stand. As we said, Dan Weldon, the defending Indianapolis 500 champion, is your leader. Between he and Sam Hornish, they have led the entire race. Behind him is number 3. That is Helio Castroneves, originally from Brazil, now living in South Beach, Florida. He has been at the front of the pack all day long. As it was reported from the pits, he had a little bit of understeer, a little bit of oversteer, but the car certainly seems to be coming back to him. And the good news for him is his teammate, Sam Hornish Jr., number 6, is right behind him.
Sam from Defiance, Ohio, went a complete regimen this past winter to try and get some weight off, dropped about 12, 15 pounds, put a gym in his house. I think it's certainly going to pay dividends today for him.
Hornish was the pole sitter coming into today, ran up front for nearly 70 laps, and there you see the gap all the way back to 4th place, and that is Dario Franchitti, originally from Scotland, now living in Nashville with his wife Ashley. We're on first name basis, so I can call her that. It's Ashley Judd for the rest of you. Dario, our winner last week, is home track, adopted home track of the National Super Speedway, and of course Patrick Carpentier, number 83, who finished 3rd last week in Nashville, currently running in 8th place. Here comes the 11, the green and white of Tony Kanaan. He is the defending IndyCar Series champion of 04, looking to get back on top. He currently sits in 2nd place in the point standings, and he's currently running in 5th place. And here's somewhat of a surprise. Behind Tony Kanaan is Buddy Rice. And Buddy Rice, not really happy with the way the car ran during practice and all, but Buddy Rice has got the car out there, and he's being consistent.
He's been driving that thing very hard. I've been watching him, give him full credit for working with a car that's not handling very well.
Behind him is number 4. That is Thomas Scheckter, who has been up. He has been back. He has had some fantastic saves. Maybe one of the most pure, talented drivers out there. Currently running in 6th place. And, of course, he comes from a good lineage of drivers. His father, Jody Scheckter, former world champion. Behind him, this is Brian Herta, also a member of that very powerful Andretti Green team, and he is currently running in 7th place. slide back from the 7 car of Brian Herta from Valencia, California, to another Brazilian driver on the circuit, very talented driver, Vitor Meira, part of the Rahal, Letterman, John Menard, Manville. And Meira currently running in 9th place, still looking for his first IndyCar Series win. Alex Barron been quiet this year, driving for the Red Bull Cheever team, currently running in 10th place.
Won the pole in the race here in a former Atlanta car back in 1997, so certainly has a lot of experience and knowledge of this racetrack.
Alex Barron from Southern California, the San Diego area. There's number 24, Roger Yasukawa, out of Los Angeles, California, the Dreyer and Reinbold Racing car, and quiet but consistent. I had a chance to sit with him on pit row yesterday and talk about qualifying, and he said, you know, I'm really looking forward to Michigan, the way the car's set up, and I think we'll have a good run there. This is Koski Matsur, number 55, also running a Honda for Panasonic, part of the Adrian Fernandez team. And there's Ed Carpenter, who's involved in that incident with Buddy Lazier. He came back in, Scott, 1 lap later, but it looks like his car is up and running again. Unfortunately, he's down by 4 laps, but he is in 14th. And you heard him talk about it all day. The important thing is, as we get ready for Michigan, is to keep these cars in one piece. Don't put yourself behind the 8 ball.
All these races back to back, it puts a lot of strain on everybody in the shop if they're actually going to start taking race cars back that have been put against the wall.
There's Dan Weldon, number 26, your leaders. He makes his way through lap traffic. Just on the outside, a real tight inside pass on Ed Carpenter, but Weldon gets it done, and now Helio Castroneves will try to do the same. Castroneves has the power.
Oh.
Buddy Rice.
Talked about Buddy Rice, how he's driving the wheels off that car when the car wasn't handling very well for him, and it's come around to bite him. And I have noticed, Todd, since that first incident that we just had a moment ago with Danica crashing, the wind is now changing just a little bit, and it's starting to turn towards going across turns 1 and 2.
Boy, that looks like some fire in the back tire, and Buddy is quick to get out.
No, he's just irritated, obviously a little sore. This is one of the racetracks that we have that does not have the safer barriers, so you see the full impact when you hit that concrete wall, and he'd be gasping for breath right now, that's for sure.
Is this a situation where he saw in his mirrors that there was a fire broken out, and he knew he had to get out quickly, or is this just oil burning off?
Well, the spotter would certainly tell him that. You can see it in your mirrors. That's a true point. And also, you can feel the heat. Whenever there's a situation like that, the heat's just rushing inside the cockpit, even more so than the heat that they're feeling today. But talk about disappointment for him. I mean, he's one of the most talented guys to sit in a race car here today.
Looks like the Delphi safety crew is telling Buddy Rice, next time you got to stay in the car, buddy. We got cars coming around at full speed, and he just had nothing to do with it. So from Buddy Rice, we go to Buddy Lazier. He's standing by with our Jamie Little.
Well, Todd, as you mentioned earlier, Buddy Lazier filling in for the injured Thomas Enge in the number 2 car. Tom, I have to ask you, first of all, Buddy, 2 incidents today. Tell me first what happened in pit road with Ed Carpenter.
Well, I don't think it was Ed's fault. I think from looking at the tape, Meira, his guy just sent him out. We were side by side. I was in the high lane, and they just really got to watch it in the pits. You know, everybody's got to take care of each other. But I don't know what I can do. I was on the brakes trying to miss him, but I think Carpenter just had to move to miss Meira, who launched, who probably just shouldn't have launched, and took me out and took out a great car. The Rockstar car was really working well. I think we were trying to get to the end. It's physical out there. Conditioning's really going to come into play. I think we would have had a great finish.
Now, what happened earlier in the race? Helio Castroneves was behind you. You were a lap down. We heard a lot of talk on the radio. What happened?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we were just running as hard as we could. We wanted to try to get, get our lap back, and the car was really coming to us and going really well. So, I had a great race car. We were just trying to get to the end.
All right, Vince Welch.
Dan Weldon coming in. You see Helio Castroneves right behind him. They've told Dan Weldon that they're going to just fuel only. They're going to short fill here. No tires for Dan Weldon. Keeping an eye on his teammates as well. Tony Kanaan is getting ready to come in. And Kanaan has decided to stay out. So has Franchitti stayed out. And it's a short fill for Weldon. Doc?
No tires whatsoever for either one of the Marlboro Team Penske guys. As Castroneves and Hornies, neither one had tires, and Brian Herta had a bit of a problem because he was getting ready to come in as Castroneves was leaving, and then to jump on the binders to stall the car. So a great move by Herta to avoid a collision on pit road. No change whatsoever in the top 5. They should all be able to make it on fuel. It's now who's got what here in the final laps at Milwaukee.
All right, thank you, Doc. And you heard Buddy Lazier tell Jamie Little it's very physical out there, and I think that's the question. Who could make it? Going back to Buddy Rice, the 15 Ray Hall Letterman car.
See, the car is already loose on him, and actually the wing is laying down. So I'd like to see if we can get something that actually shows a little bit of that ahead of time, because the car is already going around in the track and the wing is actually laid down. Did he impact something before we actually just caught that replay? We'll have to go back and see if we can find that for you folks at home.
Well, let's go back to May. Buddy Rice has had an incident, and Brian Hurd has had to come back in, so apparently they did not get the work done. Let's go back to May. This is Buddy Rice preparing to defend the Indianapolis 500.
Remember, this is Indianapolis, speeds at 225, 230 miles an hour. Buddy said he felt okay to drive, but unfortunately, he did not get cleared by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway medical team.
And Buddy Rice was ultimately forced to watch the Indianapolis 500 as Dan Weldon would go on to win that race. And here Buddy Rice's day has come to a conclusion. And Scott, we talked about at the top of the show, keeping these cars in one piece as you get ready for the long haul back to Michigan. And there you see the change from year to year. Buddy Rice was living the charmed life last year. This year, not the case. And for Ray Hall Letterman, now that's 2 cars out of 3 into the wall. So as they attend to Buddy Rice and his car, lots to sort through. We come back. The chase to the checkered flag. Who will cross the line at the Milwaukee Mile first? Stick around and find out.
Back here at Milwaukee with Kim Green. You did not bring Tony Kanaan in for a pit stop. How much are you rolling the dice here?
Well, you know, we've struggled a little bit to get to the front today, so we've taken a bit of a gamble on hoping we can make the fuel mileage to get to the end. It's going to be pretty close, and obviously we've got one of our teammates in front of us and a teammate that's led quite a few laps behind us, so it's going to be a tough one, but you know, we're just going to ask our boys to race each other fairly.
Thanks, Kim. Doc?
Well, Penske Racing President Tim Cindric calls the race here for Helio Castroneves. And Tim, you made a half a turn wing adjustment. What are you trying to fix for Helio?
Yeah, well, we left the tires on there, so we wanted to make sure we had a bit more front wing to deal with the understeer.
Does he have something for Dan Weldon? Can he handle him here in the last laps?
Yeah, quite honestly, we were saving fuel that last stint just to see what turned out here, so we're going to give it a shot, full blast to the end, and see what happens.
All right, a lot of confidence down here in the Marlboro Team Penske pits, particularly here in the Helio Castroneves pits. They were saving fuel. Now they can go after the front 3 cars.
Well, with less than 50 laps to go, the pieces are starting to fall into place. And there you see the big risk with Dario Franchitti and Tony Kanaan. They have not pitted since lap 30. You heard Kim Green tell our Vince Welch they're going to try to make it the whole way. But we did see Scott Dixon go 95. So it's a possibility as we go back down to Vince Welch.
Michael, we talked with Kim about keeping Tony out. How about the strategy with Dario Franchitti, keeping him out as well? Can you make it?
Well, we hope. I think it's a bit of a gamble. You know, they're gonna have to. I think we can make it, but you're gonna have to run it lean, so it's gonna be hard to hold the other guys off. But we'll see.
Boy, situation, Scott, where another yellow running under yellow might just help these guys out just fine. As we take a look at the Toyota lap leaders. And we've got multiple this time. Hornish Jr., of course, 112. Dan Weldon with a long stint of 58. And Dario Franchitti picking up 6.
Beautiful restart by Franchitti on the power at the right time.
Well, the eyes of the IRL will be certainly watching the 11 car. How wide can Tony Kanaan run with knowing that the Team Penske boys of Castroneves and Hornish are coming up? Dan Weldon, they're moving to the front of the pack. He's got a 2-man buffer.
Scott Dixon right now, who actually very smartly got out of that chase for the lead. So he's down a couple of laps. Drivers certainly appreciate that. They always remember a few races down the road when the driver actually helped you out.
So the 5 cars up front are Franchitti, Kanaan, Weldon, Castroneves, and Hornish. Remember, Franchitti and Kanaan did not pit on the last. They are going to try to make it all the way to the finish on what they have. Scott, bigger issue for you, tires or fuel?
Well, you know, a lot of those guys that came in did not put on tires. Obviously, it's a short fuel fill, so they just do a timed stop, and maybe they didn't want to take the time to actually change the tires. But with as hot as it is, I would just question whether there's an advantage to having 4 brand new Firestones on. But certainly, possibly, the tires are so good from Firestone that these guys feel that there would be no advantage to putting on new tires. 153, 154 miles an hour still is being run, so quick pace.
Hey, reminder, go to ESPN.com after the race of the A.J. Foyt 225 and chat with the winner. It's ESPN.com, keyword IRL, following our race broadcast. Well, Dario Franchitti won here last year. He's got his teammate Tony Kanaan behind him. And this is a double-edged sword right now. You do have your teammate, but you know how competitive Tony Kanaan is. He's not going to check up for you.
You know, he wanted the Indy 500 so bad. You saw it go to his teammate. Obviously, he's got many years in front of him, but not really had the year that he had last season. Told me after Indy that he was just very disappointed. Went back, didn't train for about a week, just took a rest and sort of had to get his head out of it and get refocused for the next race after Indy, which is Texas. But not had very much luck so far this season. All the luck seems to be going to his teammate, Danny Weldon, so far this season.
And there you see Weldon. He has been in the top 3 all day long. A long run up front, as you saw in our Toyota lap leaders. Weldon now has slid back to 3rd place because his 2 teammates, Dario Franchitti, your leader, and Tony Kanaan in 2nd, did not pit. So Weldon mired in 3rd as we check in with Vince.
Well, certainly one keeping an eye on the 27 car is Ashley, and a little nervous, but what goes through your mind and what kind of nerves do you have during this late stage of the race?
I have so much admiration for my husband that I don't actually get nervous. My wish is that he fulfill his promise, which is significant. I have extraordinary respect for his talent, which is abundant. And I just hope he can do what God helped give him the talent to do, which is win races. And there's nobody on the track who's better at being quick and saving fuel. I met Dario when he was 29 years old, and it's one of the first things I learned about him. So we'll see if we make it to the end or need to stop again. And Dario and I would like to extend the most phenomenal, heartfelt congratulations to Lance. Really awesome accomplishment today.
Thank you, Ashley, and what an exciting conversation that must have been on the first date when they were talking about saving fuel mileage, huh?
I'll tell you what, so Dario Franchitti never pulled the, oh, sorry, I just ran out of gas,
I was thinking the same thing. I thought, boy, oh boy.
Come on, Dario, get your head in the game. And we also send out our congratulations to the great Lance Armstrong, picking up his 7th Tour de France victory in a row. And we've got an incident. Team Penske touches, and it is Helio Castro-Neves who suffers the wrath of the wall here. Remember, no safer barrier.
Remember what Helio said earlier in the show. You don't want to be having any problems with your teammate, because otherwise you'll have Roger unhappy with you. I don't know if I'd want to be in the trailer tonight when this race is over.
Well, that makes things a little sticky at the team dinner.
Remember, Helio is 4th in the points championship right now, and Sam is 5th. Both those guys are really the only 2 that have had a shot at even catching the Andretti Green guys this year for the championship. Scott Sharp is in 6th and really having a dismal day. Both he and his teammate Rod Koski-Masura right now are actually running 11th and 12th. Quite a few laps
it's
down.
one thing, Scott, to get tangled up with someone else, but with your teammate. And we've heard Roger say this before, whatever you do, let the best man win, but don't take each other out. Here it is at full speed.
A good look down the inside, both looking for the same piece of real estate, as we say. And what ends up happening is the 6th car on the inside with Sam Hornish starts to get a little bit of understeer, starts to move up the road, and just gets into the left-hand wheels of the 3 of Helio Castro-Neves. It's just interesting to see that not one of them wanted to give much room. But remember, they're still doing that at 150 or 55 miles an hour going into that turn, Todd. Looks like he wants to stay in the car. He's thinking about points. Remember I mentioned this before? He wants to get that car back in the pit lane. He knows it's just the rear wing. Let the crew have a look at the car. Maybe get a new rear wing on it. Get out there and soldier on and collect some points.
Well, that changes everything. And, of course, Ashley Judd alluding to the fact that no one's better at conserving fuel than Dario Franchitti. And Dario Franchitti, this is good news for him and Tony Kanaan. Neither of those have pitted since lap 130 as we check in with Jamie Little.
Well, a few moments ago, we saw Buddy Rice hit the wall one more time, jumping out as quickly as he could as it was on fire. Buddy's 2nd DNF in a row. What's going on with you in the car?
I don't know, same string of bad luck right now. Looks like something failed in the left rear or something. I haven't seen the video, but that's what it felt like. So we'll just have to regroup and go to Michigan. We'll see what happens. Won there last year, but we'll just go back and go for it.
I know you guys have been struggling with understeer a lot here. Was that any indication there what happened?
No, I mean, it did it halfway down the back chute, so it was nothing like that. Just a breakage somewhere, a failure.
Very frustrating for the 2004 Indianapolis 500 winner, guys. He had 3 wins, 5 poles last year. This year, the best he's done is a 3rd place finish.
Well, his expression says it all as we see Helio Castroneves getting out of his car. That's good news. So Spider-Man has emerged, and
he wanted to keep that thing in the track, guys. There's no doubt about that. He's just saying, guys, see, they won't tow him around behind the truck. They actually want to pick it up with the wrecker, so he knows his day is done. Let me just go back a second for what Buddy Rice said. So we're watching this incident once again between both the Penske cars. The car on the left-hand side, the 6th car, Sam Hornish Jr., just starting to probably get a little bit of push because he's on the tight line, Todd. Goes up there and his right front turns around, just touches Helio Castroneves. But Buddy Rice said, you know, I think something in the left rear broke because it happened going down the backstretch. Remember we mentioned that we saw the wing actually off the car, laying down as it was going into the turn. So maybe it wasn't a suspension failure. Maybe it necessarily was that wing. So scary thing.
As Sam Hornish Jr. goes around there, you see the car of Helio Castroneves. And the word from the crew is they couldn't tow him back to the pits because he had a flat tire. And Scott, there you go. There's safety issues there. Rubber coming off the tire. And so Helio Castroneves, unfortunately, his day is done as he makes contact with his teammate, Sam Hornish Jr. And this does nothing but help the man who won our last race, Dario Franchitti, out in front with teammate Tony Kanaan in 2nd place. Stick around for the exciting conclusion of the A.J. Foyt 225 from the historic Milwaukee Mile. As we continue under yellow at the A.J. Foyt 225, it is Dario Franchitti, your leader, followed by Tony Kanaan and Dan Wellens. Andretti Green 1, 2, and 3. Then it's Sam Hornish Jr., who just made contact with his teammate Helio Castroneves. So Hornish Jr. flies the flag for Penske, sitting in 4th. Thomas Scheckter staying right in 5th. Brian Hurd, the 4th member of AGR. And there you see the rest of the field. Jimmy Kite, Roger Yasukawa laboring away in 15th and 16th. Buddy Rice is out, as is Buddy Lazier, Danica Patrick, Darren Manning, and A.J. Foyt, the 4th, as we check in with Jerry Punch.
All right, elation and then disappointment here. Tim Cindric down here in the pits are going to take Helio Castroneves' car back in the garage. And Tim, you never like to see 2 teammates have contact on the racetrack. How did you see what happened?
I really haven't watched the replay, to be honest. We're trying to figure out whether we can get back out and at least get some laps in. So absolutely, that's not what we want to see. You know, we had 2 great cars with Marlboro Team Penske, and hopefully we'll still win it with one of them.
Okay, let's check in with Vince quickly, who has Helio Castroneves.
Helio Castroneves now trying to get back into his car, guys. They have pulled his car just off the pit lane, and they are changing the rear wing right here in this location, just as it has dropped off the hook. I'm going to stick in with Helio real quick. Helio, did you feel as though there was room between the 2 of you, or was there a last-moment move?
I had no idea what you said, man. I couldn't hear. Say it again.
Did you feel that there was room between the 2 of you, or was there a last-moment move?
You guys have to check out the video. I don't think so, because I'm here.
Thanks, Helio. Going green.
Well, that's frustration at the highest degree for Helio Castroneves as we are going green. Green flag is out. Dario Franchitti leads them through, and Sam Hornish Jr. once again goes to the inside. This time, he does not have a teammate on the outside as Dan Weldon, and Weldon able to hold his line. So it's Andretti Green going 1, 2, and 3 with Franchitti, Kanaan, and Weldon.
The best time to pass the cars in front on the restart. There is no doubt about that. Sam got a great run off of 4. Almost got it done, but wow, Danny Weldon keeping his foot on all the way around the outside. What a great run that was.
Confidence in the Honda, confidence in the Firestones. Dan Weldon maintaining 3rd place. But remember, Dario Franchitti and Tony Kanaan have not pitted since lap 130. They rolled the dice. They are trying to go the whole way on their Firestones and the fuel load they got at 130. Riding on board with Dario Franchitti, your leader. You know, I talked to him earlier in the week, Scotty, and he said he didn't think he had the car that he had last year, and that was the car that won it. As Sam Hornish gets the pass this time on the 26 of Dan Weldon.
Now, Sam was trying that move on the inside going into 1 with Castroneves. I think he's got a strong race car, and he knows that he can't let these guys start to walk away and put a little space in between him and the lead.
So Helio Castroneves will strap back in. You heard Tim Cindric tell Vince Welch they're going to try to get some laps. And Sky, this is a great move on their part.
Have to do it. Points are so important. We mentioned that a moment ago. Thought that he might get out.
to just try and start to get out there and run some laps down and collect some points towards the championship.
And correct myself, that was Dr. Jerry Punch that was talking to Tim Cindric moments ago, who gave us that update. And a new fast lap. You got to be kidding me, Scott. You thought at the end of the day these guys would start slowing it down, but with 25 laps to go, things are heating up in Milwaukee. Can Hornish get past Kanaan?
See, right now Kanaan's going deep and then tries to do the inside.
Inside, still inside, inside, inside.
Look at this.
Inside.
Now, Kanaan's been running low, but he now all of a sudden starts to drive in a little deeper, run a little higher. The momentum off the top of the turn for Hornish.
Two of the best in open wheel racing going head to head. This time Sam Hornish has the drive, has the line, gets around Kanaan. So it'll be a shootout with 23 laps to go. Dario Franchitti out in front. Sam Hornish, who really has dominated this race until Dan Weldon took over. And so now it looks like Sam Hornish has put the incident with Elio Castroneves, his teammate, behind him, and he's going to go out and pick up the victory. And the best thing possible, Scott, is if he could get the win for Team Penske. With just over 20 laps to go at the A.J. Foyt 225 in Milwaukee, we will go side by side. When we come back, the exciting conclusion. And we welcome you back to the oldest operating speedway in the world. It's the Milwaukee Mile. As we take a look at our Toyota lap leaders, Sam Hornish Jr. with 112, Weldon with 58, and Dario Franchitti with quite possibly the most important 36, as he is our leader right now. Sam Hornish Jr. has tucked into second place as we check in with Vince Welch.
Kyle Moyer, we're still checking with the fuel. He's talking with Dario Franchitti here on the radio. Sam Hornish making a charge right now, so we're going to let Kyle communicate real quickly with Sam and then get a quick word with him. Hornish all over the back of Franchitti. We'll go back upstairs and we'll get it in a moment.
Kyle Moyer has the face of determination. And you know, Scotty, this is where you start to second guess your gamble. They didn't bring him in on that lap 170. He said, let's just run it a little bit lean. They got the yellows. His wife even said he's good at conserving fuel. But right now, I've got to think that Sam Hornish is running full out.
Well, conserving fuel means that the engine's running lean and not producing as much horsepower. And so right now, if Sam, when he came in, obviously has the fuel to go ahead and do that. But the car is definitely handling through the turns better than 27 of Dario Franchitti. He has to have patience. He has to make sure he makes the move and not put himself at risk. He's definitely fast around the high side. We talked about that. Now watch Franchitti try to move him high, coming off the turn. Almost touching. Sam will not let off, though. Sam is very determined. He'll go around the high side. He'll keep his foot on the gas, carry the momentum off of two, and there he goes.
Dario Franchitti puts his hands up as to surrender momentarily, but right there, 160-mile tire tap. And it's Sam Hornish Jr., Scott, who gets the job done now. With just 14 laps to go, does Dario have anything quite literally in the tank for him?
Well, right now it looks like he's picking up the pace a little bit because Sam's not driving away from him. Remember, Dario led the last 70 laps here last year and went on to win, and Sam was actually chasing him and Buddy Rice. Sam finished third, and he probably remembers that, but now Sam's starting to pull just a little bit out. You can hear Dario off the gas just a little bit. Certainly that's not Sam's situation. Sam's got the speed through the turns. Whoa, look at that wiggle right there. A little bit high by Hornish, and that's going to cost him. Is there a question is there a puncture on that right rear tire, or did he just get high?
He's slowing down, and here comes Tony Kanaan, Dario Franchitti's teammate. But it's Dario Franchitti out in front. Sam Hornish Jr. trying to regroup. Here comes the charge of the Andretti Green team. Tony Kanaan, Dan Weldon running third and fourth, and Ashley Judd says, that's my man.
Michael's son Marco just standing right beside her.
Vince, what do they know about the fuel?
Well, Dario Franchitti is in front now, but they're not sure that he can make it to the end with the amount of fuel because he used extra fuel trying to hold off Sam Hornish when Hornish was making the charge. And then once Hornish went by, they told Dario to turn up the fuel to try to catch him. Now that he's in front, they're not sure they've got enough to get to the end. It's going to be very, very close.
10 laps to go. Dario Franchitti is leading, but he is short on fuel. Sam Hornish Jr. sits in second. He was the leader momentarily. Looked like he was getting it. And Scott, look at this. This was an amazing save, but it did cost him a position.
Look at just a little bit high. Never gets down to that lower section there in the black. He's actually up in the gray, gets in the marbles and the dirt. What a great save, though, Todd, at 155 miles an hour. Remember, we saw A.J. Foyt the fourth do that in practice, and it bit him. But I have to say, watch Sam Hornish right now. No problem with the race car. Going to try and get a little bit of draft. Watch the 27 car squeeze him down towards the inside. Sam goes back and carries the momentum. He is unstoppable today, Todd.
He had set him up on the outside, and Dario was trying to drive wide. Now, does Dario go back and go lean, or does he let it all hang out and see if he can get something again?
Well, he knows that he does not have the car to be able to chase him down. Chasing and catching is one thing, passing is another. So right now, you might think about points. Obviously, he just won the last race last week, and now the situation is, do you think about just collecting some points?
It has come down to this, a battle of attrition and fuel. Sam Hornish Jr., number 6, driving from Marlboro, Team Penske, is your leader. There's Thomas Scheckter getting awfully close, and you see that? Tony Kanaan, move aside is what Thomas Scheckter is saying. I've got places to go and people to see. With 6 laps to go, Scheckter will try it again.
Amazing.
Wow.
Kanaan wanted to actually make it wide for him, knew the better of it. Kanaan's going to have a look on the inside now. Todd, you know what worries me about this right now is that this aggression that all these guys have on a track like this, a 1-mile track at 150 miles an hour, consequences, yes, but now if you take this grudge going into Michigan next week when we run on ABC at 225 miles an hour with that 2-mile high bank track, that's not a place to carry grudges into the next race.
6 laps to go. Sam Hornish continues to lead. Dario Franchitti short on fuel but long on talent is trying to reel him in. Franchitti, the defending champion here at the Milwaukee Mile. He won our last race in Nashville, but right now, Scott, what he wouldn't give for a splash of fuel.
The emotions on his team, the emotion with his wife, Ashley Judd, we saw elated when he went back and took the lead. But probably they know the truth of how much fuel is on board and what exactly could happen here.
38, Franchitti 14.
Talk about guts. Sam Hornish Jr. did not take tires on that last pit. He has a lot of faith in those Firestones, and to get up into the gray and the dirt, Scott, like he did, and still be able to hold the foot all the way down in the corners, that is amazing. 3 laps to go in Milwaukee. Sam Hornish leads. Dario Franchitti sits in second. It's a 2-man shootout.
If he continues along with this win, well over $100,000 to win here, but most importantly, collecting some valuable points as he's 5th in the championship.
There's Crystal Hornish, Sam's wife, looking on. It's the battle of the wives today. Who's more nervous? Sam's only been married, what, less than a year. And as they come out of turn number 4, the white flag is out. 1 lap to go. If Dario Franchitti has any Nashville magic, now is the time to unleash it. Unfortunately for Sam, he's got lap traffic in front. Looks like Ed Carpenter just in front of him.
Now what Ed needs to do is to move over because he's not running for position right now and not affect the outcome.
Coming around turn number 4.
Gearbox is almost completely shot, but we made it to the end, boys. Good job in the pits.
The pride of Defiance, Ohio. Sam Hornish Jr. has picked up the victory. His 2nd win of the season. His first coming at Phoenix. 14th win of his career, and that moves him into a tie for 2nd in points. Roger Penske's 6th win in Milwaukee, the first since 1994. And Crystal Hornish wins the Battle of the Wives this week, but I'm sure that Ashley Judd is certainly proud of Dario Franchitti. What a tremendous performance, conserving fuel all the way from lap number 130. But in the end, it was Penske perfect. Sam Hornish, who had the pole, comes out and gets the victory. Well, he's going to get the win and the checkered flag, Scotty, but I'm wondering if his first stop's going to be at Elio Castroneves' door to say, oops.
Well, Elio ends up 16th, nowhere being close to the top 3 where they were running. not near as many points also towards the championship. Unfortunate for Elio.
But give the Penske crew credit getting that car fixed and back out on the road, so he will finish the race as we check in with Vince Welch.
Well, Roger, your 6th win here in Milwaukee, but that one a bit nerve-wracking as Sam got way up out of the groove there. What happened?
Well, you know, he got up. He was driving it hard. He wanted to win this when he had a good car at the beginning. Then we got loose, and then, of course, getting into Elio, he felt real bad about that. It's just one of those things that you hate to see, but I guess that's racing. We'll have to talk about it later. But great run for Sam coming back there, and I'll tell you, he's some race driver.
Can we look at the incident involving Sam and Elio? And Roger, maybe just give us a little insight as to what you'd like to see your drivers do in this situation.
Well, I saw it. I don't have to look at it again. He got underneath him and I think started to get out of it on the brake and slid up a little bit and got the rear tire of Elio, and that got him in the wall.
Congratulations on another victory at Milwaukee, Roger.
Well, thanks.
Roger didn't need to see that again. You know, it cost him a rear wing. As they roll in, Sam Hornish Jr. in the victory lane, and you know, this is typical Sam Hornish. He's so calm. So we got no donuts out of Sam Hornish Jr. He's just going to roll it into victory lane.
The confidence that he had with the car, though, today, Todd, was very apparent because he was knowing that the car was going to come to him. We talked about the consistency, where the car starts to come in, whether it's at the beginning of the run or the end of the run. But he certainly obviously liked what he had the confidence with it. To Elio a little bit later on here today.
Tim Cindric right there working with Elio Castroneves. There is Roger Penske talking to him, and that's the best way to solve it. Sam Hornish will emerge from his car victorious here at the Milwaukee Mile. It's like another day at the office, Scott. You've done that before.
You know, tired though, there's no doubt about it. He'll be feeling the effects of that. Remember, there's a 500-mile event next week in Michigan, so that's going to be interesting.
Let's check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
26-year-old Sam Hornish climbing out of the Marlboro Team Penske here in the victory lane. And before we talk to Sam, I want to show you the left side of the car. Take a look right here. There is a huge wheel mark where obviously he got a little bit of a body slam there on the side part of this car today. And now the confetti flies as Sam steps out of the car. And Sam, some anxious moments today. Congratulations on your 2nd win of the year.
It was a real good run for the Marlboro Team Penske crew. The car was a little bit of a handful today with the hot weather conditions. We felt like we had about as much downforce as we could put on it. A lot of close calls out there. It's great to get a win for the team, but it's too bad that Elio and I got together. We were out there racing hard, and we run each other pretty hard. And you know, it was one of those things that really wish that it wouldn't have happened, but at least we got one car in victory lane.
Roger told us a moment ago, told Vince Welch he thought your car might have slipped a little bit and just pushed up as Elliott was trying to make the move, and that's why the contact. What happened?
I got a good run on him and got underneath him, and I thought he would give me the line. But you know, as it gets closer to the end of the race, we give each other probably less and less room. And you know, I tried to hold it down as far as I could on the bottom. I was all the way off the gas and on the brakes, and just got together, and just not enough room out there.
Some great action between you and Dario Franchitti. Some onboard camera coverage as you take a look here with our monitor. We'll show you. I know you had a better seat than this, but he didn't give you a lot of room. There was a little bit of pushing and shoving out there.
No, there sure wasn't a whole lot of room, but you know, that's not what this short track racing is about. Everybody thinks that that's just for cars with fenders on it and rubbing and all that stuff. And you know, while we don't like to see it happen all the time, sometimes it becomes a necessity, I guess.
Now you make the pass and then have to come back and save the car in turn two. You had a moment. What happened?
I had a misshift on like the 2nd lap of the race and kind of damaged the gearbox, and just kept getting worse and worse. So I wasn't able to downshift going into 1, which was taking the speed off. So I went in there, you know, expecting the car to handle one way, and when you don't downshift and get the nose, you know, planted, the car just pushed right out up into the marbles, and thought the day was over there, but came back and it worked out well for us.
Hey, congratulations. Your mom is from Milwaukee, and obviously a big win here for the Hornish family. Win number 2 on the year, 14th of his career. He is the winningest driver in IRL IndyCar Series competition. Let's go to Vince.
Dario Franchitti with a strong run today, finishing 2nd, taking congratulations from a variety of teams. We saw a donut on the side of Sam's car, and then your car wheeled by here and had a donut on the side of it as well. You guys were getting at it, weren't you?
I didn't know about the donut, but...
Can you tell? You couldn't tell that you were touching wheels and touching cars during that run?
No. We tried all we could with the RKX car today, but we didn't. It wasn't quick enough, so we did our best. We hung in there. Kyle Moyer made a great call, and the boys were great in the pits, but Sam was just stronger than we were, and that was it.
Would you have rather had more fuel at the end so you could have run full rich and had full power instead of having to run less power and lean?
Of course. Of course. You know, the lap time difference between the mixtures we were running in full power is massive. So, but we did our best with what we had. If we hadn't have made that call, we wouldn't have been in the position we were in. So, you got to take the, you know, the good with the bad there.
Yeah. Good run in points, though. Picked up some extra points today. Well done.
Thank you.
Dario Franchitti. Let's go to Jamie.
Well, Vince, it was another great run for the yellow Pennzoil machine. Of course, Thomas Scheckter comes out. Thomas, you have to take us through the end there. You guys kept it so exciting all the way to the end, but with TK, he was giving you a little battle there. We saw you shake your fist on the onboard.
Well, you know, I was probably a little bit frustrated, but he was doing what he can to defend his position. I was coming high. He was using all the road. I saw him pushing me up a little bit, but, you know, we're really good friends, so, you know, it's all right. Maybe I don't feel that bad because I got ahead of him, but it was a great car. Chevrolet gave me a good engine that lasted the whole race. You know, everybody put this together, and, you know, I think if it was another 10, 15 laps, it would have been a different result, but we have to be happy with the top 3 result.
You know, I wanted to bring up the fact in the last 5 races, this is your 4th top 5 finish, and you had a win in there. What's the difference in you? I know we keep asking, but what is the main difference in you, Thomas?
The rock star. It's the rock star. You know?
Oh, you're a rock star? You're drinking rock star?
I'm drinking rock star, and it keeps me going, and, you know, I don't know. We've just clicked, the whole team, from everybody, the mechanics to my engineer, and I never get worried during the race. I mean, the first half of the race, I was really struggling to keep it together, and they just turned it around and gave me a really good car. So, you know, I have to thank my engineer Dave and everybody in the crew for doing such a good job.
Well, it's always good to see Thomas Scheckter back in the yellow Pennzoil Panther machine. Guys?
That's a shameless plug, but if that's the case, then we might need to grab some of that for ourselves there, Scotty. As we take a look at victory lane, Sam Hornish Jr., your winner at the A.J. Foyt 225. We'll talk to more of the key drivers when we return to Milwaukee.
Back in Milwaukee, as Sam Hornish Jr. Is honored in victory lane. His teammate Helio Castroneves is here, and not the finish that you were hoping for. You know, I asked you before the race, how aggressive will you be if you're racing your teammate at the end, and there the two of you were, but I know it didn't work out because you said, no, we just can't wreck. Roger won't allow that.
I wasn't very aggressive. I guess the aggressive one, everybody knows. But you know what? I hope he shared the prize money with me at least, because we had everything in our hands. It's just a shame. Unfortunately, it have to end up this way. Have to move over, keep going for the next one, and hope this is not going to affect on the championship.
Even in the teammates battle, it's a pretty thin line, isn't it, during a course of a race between being a teammate and fighting for position?
It is. I mean, special. It wasn't like battle for the lead. It was 3 cars in front of her. Everybody was trying to pass at each other. It's just one of those incidents. But I think it was too soon, you know, too early, too soon. He was lucky. I mean, the good news is he won the race. Then would not be pretty. But you know what? Turn the page, forget about. Let me take care of my back. It's hurting right now.
Will you visit that topic with him though afterwards with Sam?
I don't think I need to. There is enough power. There is enough people with more power than me to talk to him.
Yeah, great answer. Chose those words perfectly, didn't he? Nice job, Elio. Let's go down pit lane.
Helio Castroneves being the politician, and Dan Weldon. Danny, you had some struggles this morning in that final practice session, but the car seemed to get very good early in the race today.
Yeah, I think in all honesty, and you know, you win with the team and you lose with the team, but I think from a team standpoint, we gave Penske, go ahead and give Penske a race, because Penske are always very strong and you got to give them huge amounts of respect. But I definitely think if we'd have made a bit more of an analytical and sensible decision, we definitely could have won. The car was very good. And you know, I just think with the decision that we made, when you put yourself in traffic with only a short period of time to get to the front, it's very difficult. And it turned out my car was pushing pretty bad behind other cars. So towards the end, so it was I think a wasted result. But you know, nonetheless, it was a top 5 finish. So that's a good thing, I guess.
Dan Weldon retains the points lead over the tied drivers of Dario Franchitti and Sam Hornish for the top 5 finish here today, guys.
All right, thank you very much, Doc. Our final commercial. When we come back, we will wrap things up. The final results when we return to the historic Milwaukee Mile. That man, Sam Hornish Jr., walks away with the top prize. ESPN's presentation of the A.J. Foyt 225 has been brought to you by Target. Expect more, pay less. And Toyota, choose any direction as long as it's moving forward. Well, today on a hot day in Milwaukee, it's Sam Hornish Jr. winning his 5th race from the pole as we check in with Jamie Little.
Well, TK, Tony Kanaan here. Tough battle to the end. We already talked to Thomas Schechter. Tell us about that little battle at the end.
I was clean. I mean, he had a better car. I was hanging for dear life there with my old set of tires and my low fuel, trying to save fuel to finish. So it was fun. It was definitely a fun race. Very, very hot. I never felt that way before, so I guess I got to work out more.
Well, we know what great shape you're in. How much water are you guys drinking in there? We were talking about it earlier, your Camelback in the back, and how hot was it at the end of the race?
To give an example, I use a huge Camelback. I think it's almost 1.5 gallons. By lap 67, it was gone. So I had no water for an hour and 45 minutes. So I'm drinking, and it was tough. I'm very dehydrated right now.
Tony, what a difference this year has made. You just bumped down 2 positions. I hate to bring it up in the points now. You're 5th instead of 2nd. What is the game plan now going into Michigan?
Well, we're 3rd in the championship, I think. And to be honest, we gain on Dan. And I want to win the championship. For me to finish 2nd or 3rd is not going to change my life after you won. So, you know, as we 1, 2, 3 as a team. So as long as we keep like that and pull it away from people, I'm going to work to win it. But hopefully this team will get a 1, 2, 3 in the championship as well.
Yeah, I made you sound worse than you are. I said 2 positions, and I said 5th. Down to 5th. I can't do math. All right, you're 4th, all right?
I'm not trying to make it look bad, but probably you don't like me. That's why you're downgrading me a big time.
We love TK, the defending IndyCar Series champion. What a day it's been. These guys are absolutely exhausted. Todd?
And you know, Jamie, when a guy from Brazil says how hot it is, that is brutal. As we take a look at the final results, Sam Hornish Jr. winner, followed by Dario Franchitti, Thomas Schechter, Tony Kanaan in 4th, Dan Weldon, Brian Herta, and Patrick Carpentier. I'm impressed. 7th place after a 3rd last week in Nashville.
Got down 1 lap early, and, you know, I saw him out in the racetrack, certainly running the same pace as a leader, so probably had a great car with that Red Bull opportunity in front of him. Moving on to the 2nd page, there's Ed Carpenter bringing it home in 1 piece as well for Scott Dixon, Jimmy Kite. Roger Yasukawa qualified 10th, finished 15th, and there's Elio Castroneves comes back out as we take a look at the overall standings right now. After 10 races, it is Dan Weldon, then Dario Franchitti, and Sam Hornish Jr. tied. Tony Kanaan in 4th place. We'll buy Jamie and Abacus later. And Elio Castroneves rounding out the top 5. Scott Sharp just sitting in 6th place. Should be very interesting. A very hot day and a very happy wife as Crystal Hornish celebrating her husband's victory here at the historic Milwaukee Mile. Well, that will conclude our coverage for ESPN. We also want to remind you the next race comes to you on ABC Sports. Next Sunday, it's the IndyCar 400, the Firestone 400 from Michigan. ABC July 31st at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. On behalf of Scott Goodyear, Dr. Jerry Punch, Vince Welch, and Jamie Little, I'm Todd Harris saying so long from Milwaukee. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. We'll see you next week in Michigan. Speeds in excess of 200 miles an hour. Should be a great race. Scott, can't wait to get there. That'll wrap things up. We say so long from Milwaukee. Your winner, Sam Hornish Jr., takes home the top prize. We'll see you next week in Michigan.